patient HM, had his hippocampus damaged when he had a surgery for epilepsy. Scientists all thought, well, this must be the seat of memory in the brain. This is the only place where memory is.
Once again, because of some accident, then they know this.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Or they believe it.
They could look at his brain and say, well, he's kind of missing this area, and he can't remember things now. He can't encode new memories. What we've found out more recently is that memory is very ubiquitous in the brain. It's in many parts of the cortex. And like we said before, the memory
of a single thing can be spread around.
It can.
Not just different things in
but
different places.
Definitely different things. But the memory of a single thing can too, because we associations, smells help us with memory.
Hey, man, Chuck, I smelled something and I said, man, I remember that from 19, whatever,
you're right. I mean, I was home today at my parents' and my mother made some food, and it took me back to being in that home when I was like 11 years old.
Yeah, that's one of the strongest triggers, actually,
and maybe
because it's a very old part of the brain.
So comfort food is not just that it is, but that it has a smell.
Right.
Yeah.
And that it brings comfort by that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah, and food, flavor. Flavor is smell.
The meatloaf is waiting for you outside. Smell, taste, all of this plugs into the brain.
Yeah, but then that plugs into the brain and it helps us recall memories and encode memories. But really the hippocampus we found is more of kind of a way station. It's the place where memories can kind of first be encoded and then spread out to other parts of the cortex for storage.
So this sounds like there's a risk of misremembering something if it's got to store one place first and then other places later. But we get back to that in another segment. But before we even get there, do you compare the human brain with other brains? Because I've been reading about this, and I learned that the octopus, which is kind of an extraordinary creature for starters, can each of the 8 limbs kind of can operate autonomously without reference to the brain. This is what I learned about.
Like there's ganglia, like mini brains.
Yeah, mini brains that can make their own kind of decisions. This is cool. This is cool and scary.
It's very cool. Awesome. Well, you know how dolphins sleep?
I never asked.
They have to be underwater, but they're mammals. They have to breathe. And it's conscious breathing. So they sleep by one hemisphere going to sleep at a time while the other remains alert.
So they can sleep and still swim to the surface and breathe.
Yeah.
But they're sleeping.
Half of their
So basically they sleepwalk.
They do.
Or sleep swim.
Sleep swim.
They sleep swim.
Sleep swim.
Right.
And how about whales?
I don't know.
You don't know about whales? But I didn't know that. So they can just they got a little switch and just switching left and right.
Just like we have a switch. Well, we have a switch for our whole brain to go to sleep.
It'd be interesting to see what different behaviors they're capable of as one half turns off and the other turns on.
Definitely.
Because we have specialization of our brain halves, don't we? Or is that just a fiction from the past?
No, we do. We definitely have specialization.
Right.
Different hemispheres.
That's always and other and sort of creatures that are much smaller. That I learned about flatworms that they don't even have a brain.
Oh, thank God, because you have scared me.
Oh, you wonder if flatworms are doing calculus on the side? And where does Chuck fit into this evolutionary? Well, we're rounding down our first segment. When we get back, my interview with neuroscientist Oliver Sacks.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth. From creator Noah Hawley and executive producer Ridley Scott comes the first television series inspired by the legendary Alien film franchise. A spaceship crash lands on Earth, bringing 5 unique and deadly species more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. And a technological advancement marks a new dawn in the race for immortality. FX's Alien Earth, all new Tuesdays on FX and Hulu. This is an ad for the Active Cash credit card from Wells Fargo. That's a mouthful. But that's because it packs a lot in. Earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases made with it, big or small. So, whether it's buying tickets to the game with your mum or grabbing a coffee with your dog, earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases made with it. Say it with me. The Active Cash credit card from Wells Fargo. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply. What's more stressful than a packed calendar? Running out of coffee right before a meeting. Now that's a real pain. Thrive Market's back to school sale is the perfect time to stock up and reset. No school schedule Whether it's pantry staples, snacks, vitamins or skincare, Thrive makes it easy to shop high quality essentials without the errands or ingredient label deep dives. Popular picks like Aloha protein bars, Simple Mills crackers and poppy drinks are delivered fast with savings of up to 25%. Smart filters make it simple to shop by diet or lifestyle, and the Healthy Swaps tool helps upgrade regular buys.
Heretic station engaged.
So easy. All I do is lean into their tools. I organise deliveries I want to the time that suits me best. I can one-off or rinse and repeat. It's so simple. Plus, I can trust the ingredients are certified organic and the suppliers are ethically sound. Not only am I eating healthy and staying in shape,
Our ships
but my
have
wallet
been
feels better
improved.
for shopping at Thrive. And now's the best time to try Thrive Market. You'll get up to 25% off select items, and new members get 30% off their first order plus a free gift. Go to thrivemarket.com/StarTalk to start saving. The sale ends August 31st. Don't miss it.
We're back. Chuck Nice, thanks for being on Star Talk. Let me reintroduce our guest today. In from Los Angeles, this is Cara Santamaria.
Hello.
Hello. Did I pronounce your name right, Cara?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Cara Santamaria.
Santamaria.
Did that right. Wasn't that one of the Columbus ships?
Yes, it was.
It was.
Yeah.
Good.
Many a nickname growing up.
Yeah.
Doña Pinta.
And so we promised you before the break that we would take you to an interview that I conducted with Oliver Sacks. He's probably the world's best known neuroscientist. And if you haven't heard of him, you may have known the movie The Awakenings. In fact, that movie was about him. That was about him.
Now,
Robin Williams was playing him.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm guessing he's not the Robert De Niro character. Because that would be truly extraordinary.
Let me double check IMDb to make sure. But yeah, Robin Williams portrayed him in that film. It was semi-autobiographical. I think it was done up a little for the movies as well. But basically, it was a story of his life and breaking in as a neuroscientist. His latest book, The Mind's Eye, is about how our brain helps to understand what the eyes see. Because your eyes are the organ unto themselves. They just
Our
gotta hand it
ships
over to
have
the
been
brain,
improved.
and the brain has to make sense of it.
Right.
So this is what's somebody.
Our
needs to
ships
write a
have
book
been
on that.
improved.
And there's going to be a movie released. Well, there wasn't. The music never stopped. Did that movie come out yet? Was
I
that?
think it did.
It already did.
It never stopped. It did come out.
That's based on one of his essays called "The Last Hippie," which was published in his book "An Anthropologist on Mars."
Groovy, man.
So apparently he's been places,
Yeah.
perhaps including Mars. So that's Oliver Sacks. And in our first clip, he talks about the things that define your identity and your personality. And he describes what role the electrical currents in your brain might play in
Determining
that, but how a super duper electrical current from outside your brain can really mess with it.
Oh, man. I think that's what they wanted to do to me.
That's the part of your life we'll get to at another show, Chuck. Let's see
Special
where,
project
let's-
complete.
Let's just see where Oliver Sacks takes us.
A colleague whom I describe in my book Musicophilia, he is a surgeon here in New York, and in 1994, through a freak accident, he was struck by lightning. And he had a cardiac arrest. He was dead for half a minute, or certainly his brain did not get enough blood or oxygen at that time. He had a sort of strange experience. He was conscious of being flung back many feet by the thunderbolt, by the lightning which hit him, and then he felt he was floating forward, and he looked down, and that he saw his own body with people around him, and he said, "I'm dead." But then he seemed to sort of move on, and then a sense of ecstasy came on him, and he saw a bluish-white light, and he felt the most wonderful thing in the world was about to happen. And then he regained full consciousness to find someone doing CPR on him. But about 3 weeks after this, he had a strange emotional and musical change. This man, who had
Construction
never been
complete.
interested in music, developed a sudden passion for classical music, first to hear it and then to play it, and then he wanted to compose it. And this also went with a mystical feeling. He felt that God had sent the thunderbolt, but had also arranged for him to be resuscitated, and that he now had a mission to bring music to the world.
Was he religious before this?
Not really. I think there were some seeds of religion, but these flared up with the experience, either with the psychological shock of being almost killed, and who knows what neurological changes might have happened as he was electrocuted and when his brain didn't have enough blood.
The brain being a organ of electrical current, right? That's what goes on in the brain.
Yes, absolutely. There's this chemistry and electricity, and that's it. And somehow from this becomes thought, imagination, spirit, the idea of God, and everything else. Well, anyhow, this man will put a supernatural explanation on this.
Debris
However,
analyzed.
he is not ignorant scientifically. In fact, he has a PhD in neuroscience as well. As a neurologist, it was up to me to put things in more neurological terms, but without in any way upsetting him, devaluing his experience. And I said, I'm sure this is what you experience and what you believe, but will you allow that something might have happened inside you? For example, might supernatural intervention make use of existing neurological structures? And he said, yeah. Okay, and at that point where I suggested that the two were not wholly incongruous, he said he would be prepared to have
Construction
some forms of
complete.
brain imagery or whatever to see whether we might be able to find the parts of his brain which had perhaps been reorganized somewhat, pushing him towards religion and towards music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one thing to ask about that whole clip.
What's that?
Was that a beep?
Yeah, that was Star Talk's first beep, yes.
Leave it to a neuroscientist to get the first beep on the show.
We're cool like that.
You're cool like that. That was the first beep. And we had to beep his quote of someone else. That's
Yes.
not even him. Right.
Right.
So that's what that was. So that's interesting. So what confidence this person must have to believe that God would strike him dead with lightning, but then rely on someone to resuscitate him so that he would have these magical musical powers and interest.
I'm just going to say, and not to ever devalue someone's religious beliefs or inclinations, when God strikes you, he's kind of pissed. I'm just saying.
Hit you with a bolt of lightning.
He didn't hit Moses with a bolt of lightning and then say, I want you to take these 10 rules down to the people. No, he said, Moses, come on up here. I want to talk to you.
Let's
for a
talk.
minute."
Yeah, let's
You know
talk.
what I mean? When God strikes you, there might be a little problem with you and God.
That you haven't really quite figured out yet.
Right.
So Kara, our identity, it looks like it can be altered by just sort of an electrical shock. Do you do
It can be altered
experiments
by
with
a
that?
lot of things.
Oh.
You've heard of Phineas Gage? No.
No.
Phineas Gage?
No,
he was
sorry.
a railroad worker.
I certainly have.
maybe
If
in
he's a
the
railroad worker,
1800s.
that's triply not. Okay.
But he's a super important story that most neuroscience hear about.
Is he the
was-
one with the spike in the head?
Yeah, he's the one with the spike.
Oh,
in the head.
yeah,
the
yeah.
tamping iron, and it went through his head, and
Yes.
it,
And
blew
he
out
stayed
part of
al-
his frontal lobe.
He stayed alive,
He
right?
stayed alive and dodged infection, which at the time probably would have killed him with an open head injury. And he was a different person after.
Yeah.
He was like a womanizer. He cursed all of the time. He was a big drunk. Before
Yeah,
that, he was a very straight
So
laced.
those people today have spikes in their head.
Let me tell you just saved my life. I got a reason now.
It's like, honey, I'm sorry, I just have a spike in my head.
I'm saying, don't you see this spike?
So how about memory? Presumably, it can not only change you, can it bring memory into existence or take it out? Can it make one memory sharper or lose it?
What, brain damage?
Yeah.
It could.
It could,
yeah,
'cause
actually.
we see these movies. How about The Bourne Identity? That's a famous one where he just doesn't know who he is. But I was gonna say I never met anyone who never knew who they were. But then,
There are people who don't know who they are.
how many?
I mean, there are people
you
who have
met
like
any?
dissociative fugue. I haven't personally.
Dissociative fugue.
Yeah, it's a psychological condition.
And what's that in English?
It's they dissociate from themselves and then they fuse. They go away and they don't know why they're where they are. So you hear these kind of true crime stories of people waking up in a parking lot 9 towns over and they'd stolen
Covered
a
in
car
blood.
and they don't remember any of it.
Oh,
and sometimes,
like the crime committed in that state of mind.
yeah, sometimes that's probably not the case. But even Oliver Sacks did write a story about that. That does happen.
Because he's especially interested in these kinds of
Bizarre kinds of,
a bizarre thing. And then I was reading that memory begins to decline at age 50. That's not right.
Oh, that can't be.
We'll get back to that. Me and NASA, we're both losing our memory here. Well, let's go back to Oliver Sacks and my interview with him in his home office in Greenwich Village, New York. And in this clip, I asked him about memories, false or real, and how you get them and how you lose them. Let's see what he tells us.
If you do functional imaging of the brain, it is relatively easy to tell if someone is telling a lie, because it's quite a complex business to tell the lie. It's easier to tell the truth, but you cannot tell if someone has a delusion.
Because they believe they're telling the truth.
Yeah, whether the belief is well-founded or not. If they have the belief strongly, and the emotions and the visualized scenes which go with this, and when people say they've been abducted by aliens, they truly believe this. In a book I wrote, the name of the book is Uncle Tungsten, I mentioned 2 early memories from 1940 of bombs which had fallen in London. An older brother of mine confirmed one of the memories. He said, yes, it's exactly the way you describe it. But as for the other memory, a memory of incendiary bombs in our garden and of my father's attempts to stop it and to douse it with sand and water, which didn't work, my brother said, you never saw it. I said, what do you mean I never saw it? He said, we were away at the time. And I said, but I can see it in my mind now. I can hear the crackling of the flames, the shouting. I see the figures of my father and brother. It is
Construction
so
complete.
Why? He said, because our older brother sent it to me.
Heretic
And
fleet
he said, you
detected.
were fascinated by the letter, and even obsessed. Obviously not only fascinated by it, but I internalized it.
Our
and
ships have been
visualized it.
It
improved.
also helps if your brother is a good writer.
Right, yeah. So this is a false memory or a secondary memory.
Is that the same as implanted memories? We've heard.
Yeah, in a way, this is a bit like an implanted memory. It had been implanted by a good description, which I think probably appealed to me, romantically. It's sort of exciting. Though I know now that this is a fictitious or secondary or implanted memory, it does not seem to me any different in quality from the genuine one. And if I had functional MRIs and was asked to recollect these 2 things, I think one would see pretty much the same areas of the brain, both the visual and emotional areas, sort of lighting up.
Yeah, it's cool. So I think that
The
2
spirits
kinds of
have
failures in
granted
memory.
us
One of
new
them is
wisdom.
remembering things that never happened,
Right.
and the other one is forgetting things that did.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to explore what effects drugs have on brain functions. This is Star Talk Radio. We're back, Star Talk. We've got Chuck Nice and Cara Santa Maria in the house. So, in this next segment, we want to talk about, on this program on the brain, we want to talk about other ways the brain can malfunction or function in ways that differently from how nature intended.
Right.
So when I think of this, I think of sort of psychoactive drugs that people take recreationally or medicinally to alter their state of mind.
Cool.
And I know our special interview guest, Oliver Sacks,
Yes.
he has experimented with drugs, and he will tell us about it in some clips coming up.
Cool.
And so, of course, if you're a neuroscientist and medical doctor, you have access to drugs. And it's just interesting. But why would anyone want to do this? I mean, I like my brain. I like when I have deep thoughts about the universe. And almost anything that enters the brain alters your ability to have those thoughts. So I'm just wondering,
But it may
Cara,
alter it in a positive
better way.
direction.
in a way.
Maybe you'll have
Yeah.
deeper thoughts.
Deeper thoughts.
Why would anybody want to take drugs?
No, well, I
Really?
guess, well, no, let me ask you this. I don't know anyone who said, here's an equation that I can't solve. Let me take drugs so I can be more intellectually acute in my ability to solve it. I've never seen that.
Well, I think it's 2 prongs. Are you looking at solving the equation in a very pragmatic way or in a creative way? Do you need an
Creative
external?
mathematics.
Where's my paintbrush? Yeah, here's the answer to the equation.
You really don't think that physics can be very creative?
It can be creative, but in the end, the adjudicator is nature. It is not an unlimited, infinite tapestry.
And many drugs are found in nature, and we possess receptors in our brains for some of these drugs.
Oh, is that right? Like what?
Most all of them. We have cannabinoid receptors.
Oh,
in our
otherwise it
brain.
would be neutral to us.
Yeah,
But the
we've
fact
got-
Cannabinoid. I hear cannabis in that.
Exactly,
cannabinoid.
exactly.
Cannabinoid.
That's
We've
code
got
for
cannabis receptors.
Reefer.
Which is code for
Sorry.
Marijuana.
marijuana. Thank you.
We also have receptors for PCP in our brain, and we have not yet really found the endogenous chemical that binds to that. So that's kind of a quandary.
Oh, interesting. It's a
neuroscience.
frontier.
Yeah, it's a frontier.
Let's see what Oliver Sacks tells us about his own time in this exploration.
In the early 1960s, like a lot of people, especially on the West Coast where I lived at the time, I took a lot of drugs.
Uh-oh, now you can't run for office.
No. But I really wanted to see what I'd read about other forms of consciousness. To what extent would the world open for me? Would it reveal domains perhaps of natural or supernatural beauty and meaning? Well, they certainly opened domains of natural meaning. On one occasion, since you're an astronomer, I will mention this, it was back in '67. I had started seeing patients with migraine. And one weekend, I took an old book out of the library written in the 1860s. A book was called On Megrim. And then I loaded up pharmacologically. But instead of giving way to fantasy, I started reading this book. And the sort of drug ecstasy coupled with what was in the book. And I started to feel this is a most wonderful book. I felt that the neurological heavens were opening for me and that migraine was shining like a constellation. One of the people quoted in the book was an astronomer, the younger Herschel, who had migraine. In describing his migraines, he said he felt like an astronomer of the inward. As I continued to read the book, I thought this is a wonderful, incredible example of mid-Victorian medicine at its best. But it was written in the 1860s, and now this is the 1960s. The author of the book was a man called Living, Edward Living, and I thought, who should be the Living of our time? And there was a very disingenuous clamour of names came to me, followed by a very loud inner voice which said, "You silly bugger, you're the man." When I came down from that sense that I was the man and this was my subject stayed with me, and I wrote my book on migraine, and I never took drugs again. So in a way, the opening or awakening I had was in that drug experience.
Interesting. So he takes drugs and decides to read a book rather than jump off a balcony.
This guy is really a scientist. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Anytime you do drugs and you're just like, what should I do? Crazy sex? Buy a couple hookers? I think I should read a book.
That's right.
You are truly a scientist.
That's a whole other state of mind.
Exactly.
Deep within that. I was doing some homework on this, and I learned that, I don't know if you knew this, Kara, that in the 1950s, the CIA experimented with LSD to see if they could alter the memories and perceptions of for espionage purposes. I don't know if you knew about that. Well, the
Does it
government
seem to work?
I don't know.
Outcomes
I don't know the outcome.
The outcome was this. Everybody they experimented on ended up following the Grateful Dead.
Actually, so that was in the 50s, and that's what birthed the 1960s. You see, there
AWOL
it is.
soldiers there, I think.
There it is. And of course, the psychogenic factors are not unique to Western culture or modern culture. Or,
Right.
Native Americans long ago, well, maybe still, the peyotes. Where do you get that from?
Yes.
A cactus or something?
Yeah.
For your vision quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find it interesting, but are you suggesting that the people who take these inner trips, that they're somehow, do they function better as people interacting with other people? Now, there's this movie out now, what's it called, The Pill?
No, it's with Bradley Cooper. It might as well be called The Pill.
Yeah.
So it's where, so he's apparent. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm told he takes a pill and it actually builds the mental powers and acuity that he has.
I think they're trying to say that once he takes the pill, he's now open to experience everything. And pull it. But the truth is, if we didn't have selective attention, we would be less functional.
Oh, okay.
Significantly less functional.
Selective attention that allows you to not
Filter.
be distracted by.
Yeah, we have to be able to filter what gets into our heads.
So
and
people with
stays there.
ADD, they don't have these filters. Is that?
They have less of
Less
them.
of them.
Yeah.
Less of them.
So it's just like, I'm going to make the incision right below the aorta. What the hell is that? It's so cute.
Oh, that's a cute little bunny over there.
Why is there a bunny in the operating room?
Because I'm on peyote.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't want ADD surgeons. Yes, that would be
No,
bad.
that would be bad. Unless they're medicated.
Well, yeah, and so
that
also
can
there
help.
are people who have. What I wonder is that people have deep religious experience. They see Jesus or Muhammad, whatever it might be. What parts have people studied? What parts of the brain are being excited, and what visions they might have, and whether that's similar to whatever might be stimulated by drugs, or their bodies producing drugs that give them these visions.
The actual visions.
The actual visions.
Well, I think that there are probably a lot of different parts. I know that there are scientists out there like Andy Newberg, who has written books about religious experience, and he thinks that this is a genetic thing. It's something that's in all of us. We have a God gene in our brain that allows us to see that. I personally disagree with that view.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that religious experience is something that's always encoded in our brains. I think it comes from external sources.
But it could be in some people's brains and not others, right? What's wrong with that?
So it could be a genetic trait for some people.
But it could
yeah.
be that that's whatever's happening in your brain, that's how you choose to describe the experiences in religious terms.
I see, because you have a religious context in which to interpret it. And if you don't have the religion, maybe it's aliens that you're looking at.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is very easy to figure out because all we have to do is examine your anus.
Is that right?
Seriously. And if there's no trauma, you have not been aboard a ship.
Is that how that works? Thanks. I next time I'm abducted, I will carry that. So, getting back to my interview with Oliver Sacks, he went on to talk about how you can have these profound visions and what might induce them and what they might mean. So let's see. This is in his home office, Greenwich Village, New York. Check it out.
I wondered whether one could imagine something one had never experienced. In particular, whether one could imagine a color one had never seen. And I built up a sort of pharmacological mountain. I won't go into details. And when I was very loaded, this connected in my mind with the seventh color of the spectrum, indigo, and the fact that no two people will ever quite agree as to what is indigo or whether there is an indigo. And I said to myself, at the peak of my experience, I want to see indigo now. And suddenly, as if thrown by a paintbrush, a trembling, pear-shaped blob of indigo appeared on the wall. And I leant towards it in a sort of ecstasy. It was a color I'd never seen. I thought, purely metaphorically, of course, this is the color of heaven. I thought this is the color which Giotto had tried to get, but never could. I also thought it's a color which is no longer in the world. This was the color of the Paleozoic Sea, but has disappeared. And as I leant forward, the blob disappeared. But I somehow felt that blob not only as luminous, but as numinous.
Numinous. I had to look up that word, Chuck.
Numinous.
Numinous.
I thought he said numerous.
No,
No,
numinous, which I
numinous.
believe means of or relating to spiritual
Exactly.
experience.
Yes, Chuck, the Ivy League educated comedian we have here.
That was very poetic,
Yeah,
I think, that interview.
it
It was
was.
beautiful.
It was. Well, he's a beautiful man. I mean, everything about him. He's soft-spoken, and he would never. You know, some people have like the evil side of it. You can't even picture that. In
There's
him.
Then you have to bleep him in interviews.
Well,
apparently.
believe him quoting someone
Yeah,
else. So
yeah,
that's what that was. We've got to take a quick break, but more StarFleet when we return.
You know, one of the best feelings in the world is seeing your child excited about going back to school. And that's when you know they've had some pretty doggone good teachers. As back to school gets underway, this is the best time to learn more about how to get involved in your child's school, team up with their teachers, and make sure that everyone has what they need to succeed. The National Education Association is made up of 3 million
Debris
educators across
analyzed.
the country, dedicated to giving every student access to great public education.
The spirits have
Parents and
granted us
teachers
new
are a team,
wisdom.
working together to make sure our students have the resources they need to succeed. No matter where we live or who we are, our public schools are a place our kids can feel safe, supported, and ready to thrive. Every child belongs in a great public school. From big cities to rural towns, public schools belong to us all. Learn how you can get involved in your public school community at NEA.org/backtoschool.
Finding the music you love shouldn't be hard. That's why Pandora makes it easy to explore all your favorites and discover new artists and genres you'll love. Enjoy a personalized listening experience simply by selecting any song or album, and we'll make a station crafted just for you. Best of all, you can listen for free. Download Pandora on the Apple App Store or Google Play and start hearing the soundtrack to your life.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Star Talk Radio. Welcome back. During the break, Chuck, you commented that you swig Robitussin for what reason?
No. Okay, here's the deal. Because we were talking about, pharmacological drugs being used or inducing hallucinations. And I know that people actually drink Robitussin, prescription strength Robitussin.
You know people who do this?
I know someone who,
I've heard that phrasing before.
Seriously?
I have a friend who does
Here's
this.
why I would never do it. I'll tell you why. Very, very quickly. I'll tell you why. So this guy and I are hanging out. He's drinking lick or Robitussin. That's the street name for it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He starts getting so high that he's hung over, his body's slumped over, and he's calling me Betty. Now, I'm like, two things. One, I don't know who Betty is, but if she looks anything like me, that's one ugly broad. And two, I don't ever want to drink anything that makes me think another man is Betty.
Betty. Well, period. That cured you of your Robitussin.
Right.
So Kara, what are there psychotropic drugs that are prescribed for any particular reason?
Not to give people hallucinations on purpose,
Right.
but of course there are lots of psychotropics that are prescribed. Anything, from ADHD to schizophrenia to depression, anxiety, all of these disorders require drug treatment if you have drug treatment with psychotropics.
So it's psychopharmacology is all about getting into your head.
Speed. People take speed on purpose.
On purpose for that.
To help with attention.
To help it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to my interview with Oliver Sacks and see what he talks about hallucinations. I don't know if he's ever had one.
I'm
Construction
very interested in
complete.
hallucinations. Some of the hallucinations occur with people who are blind, and being partly blind myself, I have a few low-level hallucinations myself, but they're only really of blobs of colour and geometrical figures and things like that. But it puts people on the spot if they have a hallucination. Hallucination is not like imagery. It's like perception. It seems to come from outside. You have no sense
that it's inside.
That you are generating it, or any part of you. So you hear music, you run to the window, you look outside for the source of the music. It's only when you can't find a source for the music that you perhaps start to think, there's some part of my brain gone on automatic. Or you may not think that. You may maintain a false belief. One of my old patients was convinced that the patient next door had a phonograph and was putting on the same record again and again. When Schumann had some musical hallucinations at one point, he thought it was divine music.
So, Kara, people can have hallucinations, and if you're religious, you have this sort of inclination to think that it's divine.
Yeah,
and if you're not, you just think, others might just think you're crazy.
Right.
Or they might think you're crazy in both cases.
You may think you are
Debris
crazy personally, or
analyzed.
you may not identify those hallucinations as being external.
What is your capacity to judge that you yourself are not of your own mind?
I think it just really depends on the person. I think that some schizophrenics are aware of their disorder and they know that they need the Haldol or whatever drugs they take to get through the day. And I think some have absolutely no idea that they're experiencing hallucinations and delusions.
The voices in my head just told me you are correct.
And so how about the kids? We're prescribing Ritalin for kids. That's affecting their brain in some way.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning before. That's speed.
That is speed. Okay.
Speed. Well, it's like speed.
Speed-like.
It's speed-like. It's a speed-like drug, and it does. We don't really know the long-term
Debris
effects of these
analyzed.
drugs year after year after year.
And we don't because we can experiment in this.
Exactly.
They're not adults yet.
Construction
That could be a
complete.
whole other. We could start another decade like the '60s. We're priming them for that. Let's see. I think my one last clip coming up with Oliver Sacks, and we'd speak a little more about hallucinations and find out what he tells us.
Among the many sorts of hallucination,
System
are
survey
sorts
complete.
which one may wake with suddenly in the night. You wake up suddenly and there's a pterodactyl above your head.
Construction complete.
These hypnopompic hallucinations, as they're called, are often of giant figures, sometimes frightening figures, sometimes an immense spider, although sometimes of a little man in green, sometimes of an angel. They may be akin to dreams in some ways, but here you are conscious and the thing is with you in the room. There's a presence in the room. It's not entirely easy coming to terms with something like this. I've actually recently been hearing about a 10-year-old boy who woke suddenly in the night and saw a figure of a tall woman next to his bed who told him she was his guardian angel. He turned on the light and the figure didn't disappear. He ran into his parents. When he came back, the figure had disappeared. Now, this little boy was very disturbed. He had no particular belief in angels or visions, but something had happened which he could not deny, but could not explain, and could not integrate into his worldview. I suspect that visionary experience, whether drug-induced or in dreams or whatever, has played a part in the genesis of everything from folklore to religion. For example, for some reason, there are physiological reasons for this. Lilliputian hallucinations, so-called, are rather common, of little people. And one finds in almost every culture that there are elves, fairies, trolls, little people. One wants to say they're not at the sort of lofty level of angels in the heavens, but they do represent another reality. I think this is almost built into the brain as well as built into culture.
Is he telling us that it's built into my brain that I'll imagine little people when I'm asleep?
Possibly.
Gremlins. Gremlins are built into our brain.
He's saying he's seeing it across cultures, just the same way that we see faces and things that aren't really faces.
Right.
We may be predisposed genetically or evolutionarily.
You mean when I look at clouds,
Debris
I see
analyzed.
Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah. And you
Okay.
don't see an alien. You see a human.
I see a human,
form, because
right.
that's important for your evolution.
I don't see a lobster.
No. You may, if you're Dali.
No, but if it is a lobster, I probably won't think lobster. I'll think if it really does look
Lobster
like
man. You don't think it's lobster man.
No, I'm more likely to say it looks like something familiar to me,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And so what's the limit of the brain? I can imagine a day where we plug a USB port into your neck and upload or download. We kind of did that with Watson on Jeopardy a few weeks ago. Kara, are you afraid of Watson's coming or rising up?
Not at all. Watson knows things. He has a memory bank.
Well, so do we.
Like we said, but ours is very different.
Why? So why can't he ever be us?
One thing a computer still can't do is recognize an object that's partially occluded. If you put a picture of a cat that's hiding behind a tree, a computer will never know it's a cat. And this is a
Because
huge
the tree is in the
project.
way. What do you mean?
The tree's in the... No, you can
I
see
was
its
gonna
ears,
say,
you
I
can see its tail. We know it's a cat. A computer really has a hard time synthesizing a whole from parts.
And it's easy for us.
This is a human perceptual thing that's so easy, and we don't know how it works.
Okay, we got to end the show there. You've been listening to Star Talk. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, and as always, keep looking up.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Lowe here. If you haven't heard, I have a podcast that's called Literally with Rob Lowe. And basically it's conversations I've had that really make you feel like you're pulling up a chair at an intimate dinner.
Our ships
between
have been
myself
improved.
and people that I admire, like Aaron Sorkin or Tiffany Haddish, Demi Moore, Chris Pratt, Michael J. Fox. There are new episodes out every Thursday, so subscribe, please, and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This season, the game begins.
Council agenda ready.
Our ships have been
On
improved.
August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore the story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
You ever walked around a neighborhood and wish you could see inside somewhere that was available for rent? Well, let me just give you a tip. Don't climb up on the ledge and look in the window. People will call the cops. Well, maybe you've walked past a place for rent and you wish you could peek inside. Maybe even explore the layout, envision the natural light streaming through the windows, or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. Well, at Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in at all.
Debris analyzed.
Couch. And if you end up wanting to see it in person, you can book a tour online without having to speak to a leasing rep. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
Evading heretics.
Your place in the universe where science and pop culture collide. Star Talk begins right now. Welcome back to Star Talk Radio. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist, and this is one of my favorite subjects of all time. We're going to talk about the physics of superheroes. Patrolling the streets of Gotham, swinging on a spider's web, leaping tall buildings in a single bound, and I can't do that alone. I need help. And I combed the streets of Gotham, and I found Eugene Merman. Eugene.
Hello.
Welcome back to Star Talk,
it's
man.
Great to
Heretic
be back.
Station
I couldn't do
engaged.
this segment without you, you know.
No.
I knew you'd have something to say about every one of these things.
I do. I have an opinion about all of it. I even brought a ring powered by willpower.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Will,
yeah.
I didn't. You know someone named Will Power? Yeah.
No.
So Eugene, do you have some favorite superheroes?
One, all of them.
Oh, that's a cop-out answer. Come on now.
Okay. No, I'll get specific. Jeez. Green Lantern. I'm a big fan of Green Lantern. He has a ring that is powered by willpower.
Hence.
And he controls the universe just like any good person would.
What's with all the green? There's like Green Hornet and, what's with the green?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was not of my design.
Okay.
The spirits have granted us
the
new
Green Lantern,
wisdom.
what else? Anybody else?
Batman.
Heretic
'cause
Station
he's like
engaged.
Mr. T. He's like mean to criminals but really nice to children.
Except he's got a cape, but he can't fly. I never quite understood that.
He can't fly, but he is also just really great at
Council
a lot of,
agenda available.
I don't know. He's just a smart guy with a lot of gadgets.
And it helps that he's a billionaire and can build whatever he wants.
And very mad. He's super angry.
Don't piss off a
Angry
superhero. So we're going to explore all different features of superheroes. Some that they're born with, some that they're genetically engineered to have, other features that are acquired by technology. There's no end to this subject. In fact, I don't see how we can fit it all into one show. I don't even know if that's possible.
Maybe we won't stop. Maybe at the end of the hour we will just keep
Somebody's going to cut us off. And so what we did to make this show happen is there's a colleague of mine, a physicist, who is at the University of Minnesota. His name is James Kakalios.
It's a very pretty name.
It is beautiful. And he's a physics professor at University of Minnesota, and he's author of The Physics of Superheroes. Now, how could I not interview this guy for Star Talk Radio? And
Heretic
guess who published
Station
that book?
engaged.
Well, I could guess really accurately, or do you want me to ask? 'Cause it's
The
Gotham
spirits have
Publishing.
granted us new wisdom.
There couldn't have been anybody else but Gotham Books. I don't know if they invented it just for that book or not. So let's just get started right with the first clip from my interview. We had met up in Los Angeles at a conference, and I pulled out my microphone and grabbed every minute I could of his time. One of his favorite superheroes is the Flash.
Oh.
Flash goes really fast through the atmosphere, but that could be bad if you don't have like heat shields and things.
Yeah, well, he breaks the speed force or something.
So let's find out.
From the point of view of teaching physics, the Flash, who can run at super speed, is a great
How
character.
fast does the Flash run? I never
Well, in some cases, he's run faster than the speed of light. In one story, he found that as he was trying to run at the speed of light, he was going slower and he was becoming heavier.
Ooh, they're invoking some relativity there.
Those who know Einstein's special theory of relativity know exactly why the Flash was getting heavier. An alien was shooting him with a gravity increasing ray. But if you took it out of context, it was a beautiful illustration of Einstein's principle.
What accounts for Flash's speed? I don't remember.
Oh, he was struck by lightning and doused with chemicals at the same time, and rather than suffering any type of neurological damage, he obviously gained the ability to run at super speed.
And rather than dying.
Exactly, yes. The ability to run at super speed, the interesting thing when you look at it from a physics point of view, there's a host of other secondary powers that you need if you want to fully run at super speed. For example, you need to be able to have super acceleration or super deceleration, because otherwise you only be able to start running at, say, 32 feet per second, and it would take you a while to get up to...
What you're saying is you can't accelerate faster than gravity allows you to.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Now you also need to be able to overcome air resistance.
Wouldn't some of them just burn up moving through the air that fast?
Exactly right. In fact, in one issue of The Flash, he's still able to run at super speed, but he lost his ability to ignore the air resistance.
Complete.
And so his power was limited because if he ran too fast, that's exactly what happened.
So that's one where whatever his version of the heat shields would be, or his version of how he can part the air.
Absolutely. That's right.
So
Pushing the air out of the way.
At least they thought about that problem.
And as a kid reading this in the 60s, I was actually embarrassed because I knew that meteorites burned up in the atmosphere, and it never occurred to me that the Flash should also be burning up.
Now, you know you have a geek on your hand when he's upset with himself for not judging Flash correctly after having already known that meteorites burn up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's true.
It's so you know about.
But meteorites can't access the Speed Force, so there's the flaw there.
Clearly, that's the problem. So you know, Earth plows through anywhere between 1 and 300 tons of meteors a day.
Really?
Yeah, this is how much debris is just hanging around the solar system, left over. And we just vacuum it up. That sounds like it's a lot of weight compared to a human being or a truck, but it's really small compared to Earth. So Earth just brushes this off. And some of them are big enough to make it all the way down and not completely burn up. If you find them, then we call that a meteorite. And so if you want to get your vocabulary straight.
I do.
And so what happens is they're going 10 miles per second. That's really fast. And then they slow down coming into the atmosphere. That energy, kinetic energy, has to go somewhere. And you don't lose or gain energy for free. And in the case of the meteorite, in the case of the space shuttle, all that energy speed gets converted to heat. And in the space shuttle, it dissipates it with the tiles. And the meteorite, it goes back into the meteor, shooting through the atmosphere, and it burns up, and you see it as a beautiful shooting star at night.
Oh.
Is that beautiful?
That is really pretty.
So if you like you said before the clip that you like the Green Lantern. But if you had your own superheroes, your own superpowers, what do you think you'd want?
So
clearly you haven't thought about this.
Well, I can't. I mean,
I thought every guy has thought this through completely.
Well, one, I'd love, maybe just a cape. Maybe that'd be nice. But then part of me is like, I don't know. Do I want to be able to have somebody shoot me and then the bullet bounces off? That sounds nice. But then I'd really rather fly, even though it's useless. But how fun would it be to fly? But then I'd need to be resistant to cold and all this stuff. It just becomes exhausting. It's not that I haven't thought about it, it's that I get sleepy thinking about how many powers. Telekinesis, it'd be great.
To move stuff at a distance.
Yeah, with your mind, it'd be mostly very convenient. So.
Well, let's get back in my interview. In my interview, we talked about realistic superpowers versus unrealistic ones.
Right.
And let's see.
So cape, realistic, telekinesis.
Well, cape can be real. It's whether or not it allows you to fly, which clearly it didn't for Batman and it did for Superman. Let's see where realism takes us. Let's start there. Most realistic.
Okay, I often say Batman because he doesn't have any powers. Of course, the number of times...
And of course he can't fly.
That's correct. The number of times he's been knocked unconscious in his crime-fighting career over 60 years. He should be permanently brain damaged at this point, so obviously he has some sort of Homer Simpson extra thick padding or something.
I would have thought that behaving that way from the beginning was evidence of brain damage.
Yes, dressing up like Dracula and going out and beating up muggers is not usually a sign of stability. Iron Man is actually a good example because there's only one miracle exemption from the laws of nature you have to accept. That he has a power supply that could run the suit. There are exoskeletons, there are jetpacks.
Okay, but that's just a power supply we haven't perfected yet.
Well, in the movie, the 2008 movie Iron Man, he has a power supply.
That's with Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly. He has a power supply about the size of a hockey puck that puts out the energy of about 3 nuclear power plants. So if we had something like that, superheroes would be the least of our trouble.
That's a good point. Who's the most unrealistic superhero? Is it Elastic Man or something?
Well, yeah, certainly characters who can stretch. There are characters who can change size, so you have to wonder where their missing mass either came from or went to.
Well, they're not getting just less dense?
Well, that's an excellent point. And there's a beautiful illustration
But just to
of
clarify,
this.
if you are one size and later on you're another size and you don't add any material to you, you have to be less dense than
Yes.
you were before.
You inflated like in a balloon.
Yes,
That's exactly
so
right.
it means you'll float better.
There was once a comic where the Earth was attacked by a giant monster who every time you struck him with an energy beam got bigger. And they discovered by noticing that his footprints were getting larger but not deeper that he was actually growing at constant mass but not constant density, just as you
Whoa.
say.
Because had he been getting heavier, the footprint would sink further into the...
Exactly. So they found that the way to defeat him was to continually bombard him with energy until he became so large that his density was less than that of the background of space.
And so he just floated away.
Exactly right.
That is brilliant.
It was an old Fantastic Four comic back in the 80s. So there are examples like this throughout the history of comic books where if you just cherry pick, you can find correct applications of physics that you can use for instruction. And then once you've illustrated the physics principles, you show how the same concepts apply in the real world.
That's another clip from my interview with James Kakalios. He's a physics professor, University of Minnesota, author of The Physics of Superheroes. That's awesome, Eugene.
Yes.
You know, just to figure out that you can take a creature and beam him, he'll get bigger, but not
get lighter and float away.
And float away. So you have to be like more clever than the creatures themselves.
Yes, it's disappointing to know that you can't shapeshift. I was going to say it'd be great to shape, or you can, but you'd have to remain the same size.
Oh yeah,
which defeats, becoming a dragon or something.
You can be a dragon your size.
You could be a different. I guess you could look like other people.
That's kind of what
that's helpful.
Special project complete.
So they've got things like jetpacks. You've seen them from Really?
I mean,
is that how you got here?
I mostly use it indoors. It's actually very dangerous.
And you could get one. It costs like $100,000, and they seem really unstable to me.
You're gonna do a Kickstarter for a jetpack.
And if you troll YouTube, videos, first they all look like people are doing things that'll just kill you. But among the categories of those that might kill you, you've got people testing out jetpacks, and this was the future we all imagined we'd be living today.
Yes, we'd take our Zeppelin and then jump out of it in our jetpack, and then we'd be at work.
Are you disappointed? I mean,
I don't know. I don't think I mean, I'd like to be able to fly, but I don't think I'd like to fly by setting myself on fire. Or almost.
So there's another side of this we can spend some more time on later. There's the mixture of technology and biology that goes on inside the body.
System survey
Cyborgs,
complete.
basically. And we can talk more about that later in the show. But before then, I want to also get back to my interview where we talk about powers that might be kind of mystical. Not necessarily expressions of strength, but of magic, essentially. And in this clip, we talk about Wonder Woman and some of her mystical powers.
Wonder Woman was an Amazon princess, which explained how strong she was. She had a lasso of truth that, if she wrapped it around you, compelled you to speak truthfully. Interesting fun fact, Wonder Woman was created by Charles Molson Martin, who was the co-inventor of the polygraph machine. And
Really?
So
The polygraph, the lie detector.
The co-inventor of the lie detector gave Wonder Woman a lasso of truth. She also had these bracelets with which she would deflect bullets that were fired at her. And then we analyzed this from a material science point of view in the physics of superheroes. What are these bracelets made out of that can deflect bullets? And we can calculate the force that a bullet would have on the metal.
In order to not deform the metal.
Exactly.
If it hits it.
And cold rolled steel would probably be strong enough.
Is that right?
So Amazonian metal is apparently nothing fancier than very hard steel.
What they could have had access to easily.
Yeah. Of course, her wrists don't snap, so she's still excessively strong.
Plus, she's quick enough
to
aim her bracelet into the path
those
of
reflexes.
the bullet.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
I'm glad that she's fighting for our rights in her satin tights.
What's that? Eugene Merriman. I wonder, so here we have Wonder Woman. Making you tell the truth by wrapping a lasso around you. But of course, if she was a guy, she would have just pummeled the person.
Well, she can do both. She has both a strong and gentle
The
touch.
spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Man. So we're coming up to the end of our first segment. When we come back, we have much more of the physics of superheroes when we return.
This is a vacation with Chase Sapphire Reserve, the butler who knows your name. This is the robe, the view, the steam from your morning coffee. This is the complimentary breakfast on the balcony, the beach with no one else on it. This is the Edit, a collection of hand-picked luxury hotels you can access with Chase Sapphire Reserve, and a $500 Edit credit that gets you closer to all of it. Chase Sapphire Reserve, the most rewarding card.
Learn more at chase.com/Sapphire Reserve. Cards issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC, subject to credit approval.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now.
Blockers cleared.
Play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
As a parent, snack time can be a battle. Ew! But with Simply Doritos, I can give my kids the flavors they love.
Space-going creature encountered.
Ooh! No artificial colors or flavors, and made with 8 grams of whole grains per serving. Try Simply Doritos today.
We're back. We're talking about the physics of superheroes with one of my
System
favorite
survey
and
complete.
also my co-host, Eugene Merman. We've been listening to clips of an interview that I conducted with Professor of Physics James Cacalios, author of The Physics of Superheroes. He works out of the University of Minnesota.
Construction
and this segment,
complete.
I'm going to bring in, because all of life is not just physics. In fact, life is also...
Name one other thing.
I think every now and then you got to tip your hat to the biology that goes on.
Evading
So
heretics.
we snared a biologist. He was walking around the streets of New York
Yeah.
a couple of days ago, and we found him. Lee Silva, professor of molecular biology and public policy at Princeton University. And he's a specialist in genetics and its impact on human personality. And he just thought about how just genetics and technology.
Construction
and he's actually
complete.
formally trained in biophysics. So Lee, welcome to Star Talk Radio.
It's good to be here, Neil.
Yeah.
Hi, Eugene.
Hello.
So you're here. You're going to just jump in whenever we say something either incredible or credible.
Sounds good.
Could you make a genetic potion?
Situation
that I
log
could drink and
updated.
Become magic.
Well, I think every guy
It would have to
wants
be a
genetic potion that's going to make him attractive to women.
No, I won't. Yeah, I don't want that. I want to be able to fly or jump in, like to the second story. Like I don't even need to leave the whole building.
That's pretty modest of a request. Yeah, give me the powers to jump 20 feet in the air, you know.
Into a building. I don't even mind hitting it if I'm okay.
Well, not at our weight. That's the problem.
Right.
So what I like are those superheroes that they started out normal and then something happened to them and then they have some new biological power. And I think the most famous in recent times, based on the popularity of the movies, is the Spider-Man series, Spider-Man. And so I had to talk to my man about Spider-Man and find just what he says about him, because what a unique set of properties this guy has. And let's find out what he tells us.
In the 2002 film Spider-Man, Sam Raimi decided that having Peter Parker make his own webs technologically seemed a bit far-fetched, and so he had the webs come out of his wrist because he didn't want it to come out of any other body parts that spiders normally extrude their webbing
Like out their butt or something, right?
Yes.
That would be a different movie, wouldn't it?
It would be a different movie, but it might be hard to get it rated PG. But spiderweb itself is an amazing material. It has a strength, a tensile strength, a strength against being pulled apart 5 times greater than steel cable, and it's stretchier than nylon.
Our ships have been improved.
It is extremely flexible steel.
If you had a steel thread as thin as a spider web, the spider web would be better than it by fact. It's 5 times stronger.
Correct. And scientists would dearly love to be able to artificially produce this, because then they could make lightweight clothing that would be stronger than Kevlar. There's all sorts of applications and things that we could do if we could mass produce this at will.
But Spidey
is able to do this on his own.
On his own.
He's able to do it, but it lacks a commercial aspect because it dissolves after an hour.
Otherwise, the city would just be full of this stuff.
Full of the webbies everywhere.
You can't get rid of it, right? How do you throw it
You
away?
come out of the subway, and instead of being covered in soot the way you are now, you'd be covered with spider webs. And so there's some fascinating science about little nanocrystals that provide strength and redundancy, connected by flexible long-chain polymers that provide the stretchiness.
So polymer, like nylon, is a polymer, as an
Correct.
example. Okay,
Long-chain carbon molecules, right?
Okay, because carbon likes attaching to itself.
Exactly.
So you're saying that the spider web is a polymer? Is that what you're saying?
It's a polymer that every given length has a very rigid, strong nanocrystalline block that's connected there.
Oh, so it's in segments, essentially.
And the nanocrystallites provide great strength, and the long-chain polymers
That sounds like
provide
the lost biblical tribe, the nanocrystallites. That's what that sounds like. We are the nanocrystallites.
They were lost because they were so small. We couldn't see them.
So, let me ask you, Lee.
Yes.
Our molecular biologist at large. Do you think that because we have greater sort of access to or at least the future is a little closer today regarding molecular genetic engineering, do you think these superheroes are more realistic to us, those that have these sort of these genetic alterations that are within them?
Well, we understand what spider webs are made out of, these special proteins that evolved in these little insects to allow them to walk around in thin air, apparently. Our problem is that our weight, our basic weight is too high to develop a material that would do that. But we could probably secrete spider webs for whatever it would be worth.
Can't wait.
So, do you have a plan for your next experiments? Humans secreting spider. What you're saying is a spider is, however strong the spider web is, it's certainly strong enough for a spider,
Right.
but it'd have to be much, much thicker to hold up a human being.
To hold up you or me, it would have to be much, much thicker, and then it wouldn't be a spider web.
Spider-Man does admittedly have significantly thicker webs.
Yes, but
admittedly, yes.
So it is. So are you saying that's realistic?
we could make this stuff. Actually, it's a physicist who have to tell me whether or not it could hold.
What you're saying is,
heavy weight.
since some biological creatures in the world can make spider webs, in principle, there's nothing that prevents humans from acquiring that same talent.
Exactly. And in fact, anything that any biological creature does that is special could, in theory, be incorporated into a human being.
So, for example, Daredevil can see the world in sound reflections because he's blind.
Right.
And he can see the world, and of course, bats do that.
Exactly.
So he'd make a good bat.
Right, and in theory, we could create that kind of phenomenon in man, although our ears would have to be very, very large.
Now, there are other features of superheroes that are really kind of unrealistic in the world of what is real and unreal among superheroes, like elasticity, like, Plastic Man and all this.
Right.
Well, I actually wanted to say something about the elasticity. That's not totally unrealistic to a small degree. There are actually people who have elastic skin.
I've seen that. Ooh, they're creepy people.
But
yeah.
couldn't they reach their arm across a room to get a soda pop?
Not that elastic.
Not that elastic. But yeah, and can they turn their entire body into like a trash can that would fool you on the street?
Or as in the what's the Disney movie with the superheroes? The Fantastic
Incredibles?
The Incredibles, where Elastigirl becomes a parachute.
Exactly.
Yeah, see, that'd be useful if you fall out of an airplane.
Right.
Let's go back to my interview with James Cacali. I can't get his name right. James Cacalios, because he talks about these stretching talents that superheroes have.
You have Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four.
And remind me, what could he do with his body?
He could stretch it into any shape. He had elastic powers. He had same powers as Plastic Man. Plastic Man stretches his body into any shape. At one point in one of the comics, one of the writers analyzed this and figured that these characters must not have any internal organs, because the thought of what might happen to their cheeseburger that they ate at lunch while they were stretching into all sorts of different shapes led to too disturbing an image.
So, did you try to analyze the physics of the stretching? And what
Well, the stretching, again, I will grant them suspension of disbelief.
By the way, skin is a little bit stretchy, right?
It is absolutely...
Look at a pregnant woman. The skin...
It is absolutely stretchy. One aspect of the stretching that they get right, at least in the Fantastic Four, is that the further Mr. Fantastic would stretch his arms, the weaker he'd become.
Oh.
And so there again, you know that...
Wait, and isn't it true that his arm would get thinner?
It would have
like
to.
Gumby. If you stretch
Exactly.
Gumby, it gets
That's
thinner.
exactly right. And so what would happen is, you know that if you have a board supported on 2 posts and it's only a foot apart, the board is fine. But if the posts are a mile apart, the long plank is going to sag due to gravity. And so that the strength is determined by the cross-sectional area.
So the cross-sectional area is if you were to cut it and look at what faces you, like you're cutting an orange.
Exactly.
Right. And so as he stretches it out, the cross-sectional area gets littler and littler and littler,
And so
and
it
you're
gets-
losing strength.
And it gets weaker and weaker because the strength of your muscles is determined by the cross-sectional area.
That's why skinny people aren't as strong as people with big muscles.
That's exactly right. And in fact, the big muscles, what matters is how fat the muscle is, how large the cross-sectional area, not how long it is.
Right. Mhm.
If you want to hold up a 40-pound fish with a 20-pound line, you don't get a longer line, you get a fatter line.
Right, a stronger line.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's stronger because it's thicker.
Because it's thicker. So who else stretched?
In The Incredibles had Elastic Woman. Another stretching character was the Elongated Man.
That doesn't sound very creative.
Well, there was one character who was super strong, and he had a code name called Strong Guy.
So Eugene, we were chatting earlier. You would seem to be intrigued by some of these cases of genetic mutants among humans that we already have on the record books. For example, there was Uber Baby, where in 1999 a baby was born in Germany it was a mutation that changed the way the body controlled muscle growth. And so we've seen this in cattle before, where they have double muscle cattle. But this baby apparently was then born with super muscles.
So my question is, how strong is this baby? Could the baby, if the baby fought a bear, would the baby win?
Or could the baby help you change your car tire? The way baby
Could it
Superman
throw a
did.
car? Can this baby throw a car?
The baby can lift itself up at a very early age.
Could do chin-ups,
That
you're saying.
is such a boring power. A baby that can lift itself before another baby normally? Realistically, what could this? So the baby's now like 4 or so. What could it?
So it can do
lift
chin-ups and push-ups. We need more than that if we're going to be a superpower.
Can
baby.
it break sheetrock?
It may be able to win some Olympic events.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So
Against other babies or against adults?
When we come back, we're going to talk about Superman. Lots of physics going on there. We'll see you in a moment. Talk Radio. We're talking about superheroes in this special episode. If you're going to be a superhero, you got to have strength. So let's go back briefly to my interview with James Kakalios and talk about the strength of superheroes and where that comes from and where it's going.
Clearly, you have
Situation
Hulk,
log
you have
updated.
Superman, you have Thor. In some cases, you have Spider-Man, people who don't seem to have very large muscles and yet are extremely strong.
They got away with that one because they said a spider has high strength relative to its legs. Right.
Yes. The other side of strength is when you look at characters who can shrink and still be able to punch with the same force as a normal person.
Who would that be?
Well, Ant-Man.
Okay, I missed that round of comics. Ant-Man?
Ant-Man, there was a character.
Who thought this up?
Stan Lee.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man who could shrink down to the size of an ant.
Oh, and then have the strength ratio that ants have. That must be it.
Well,
because ants, you've seen ants hauling sandwiches off your picnic. Not a whole sandwich, but you've seen an ant pull an entire potato chip down the alley.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, ants do this in a very different way. They have an exoskeleton. They have their structure.
So they're juicy on the inside and solid on the outside.
Exactly. They're constructed in a very unique way, which shrinking a person down to the size of an ant wouldn't necessarily buy you.
Okay, so Ant-Man, they gave him great strength.
They gave him strength, but
informed by the biology of an ant.
The other thing is, if you look at it, sometimes he's able to do things that aren't that far off. His muscles are much weaker when he's the size of an ant, but then his fists have a smaller surface area, so the force per area that he can actually provide...
That would be the pressure.
The pressure would be exactly the same as the pressure that he would provide when he was normal size.
Okay.
So he's able to, say, punch his way out of a paper bag, which, believe it or not, turned out to be a crucial plot point.
Oh, wow, okay.
Stories.
I think James Kakalius knows way too much about superheroes.
He does know quite a bit. I feel like I know a fair amount, but he knows both the science and the stories dating back for 40
I think
years.
we'd all have to agree that the most important superhero out there is Superman.
Yeah.
He's strong, he can fly, he's got all the stuff you really need.
He shoots lasers out of his face. He's very good at being a superhero.
The man can do it. And so I had a special sort of interview segment with author of The Physics of Superheroes, James Kakalius. Let's get right back into that interview and have him see what he says about Superman himself. So could you use physics principles to rate who the best superheroes are in terms of their power? I think it's got to be Superman.
Well, Superman practically violates every law of physics. He not only is able to ignore gravity, but apparently can push against something when he needs to accelerate while he's flying. So
he can just be floating in midair at some speed and then go faster.
Exactly right.
Without any propulsion.
There's an acceleration but no force. And so
okay, so that violates every known law of motion.
Yes, right from there.
Well, so does having bullets bounce off your flesh.
You know, in the early days of Superman, he got his strength and his powers from coming from a planet with a larger gravity than Earth. So he was limited in the things he could do.
Let me ask you, could he fly on Krypton?
No, because on Krypton...
That was the heavy gravity.
That was the heavy gravity. So just as our muscles and skeleton structure are adopted to
The
Earth's
spirits
gravity,
have
so we
granted
go
us
to the
new
moon.
wisdom.
We're not quite flying, but we're doing pretty good.
We can leap a moon building in a single bound and lift moon cars over our heads that astonish the moon people. But Superman's able to do the same on Earth. Superman, apparently the rods and cones in his eye not only can detect X-rays, which is not really useful for us because there's so little X-rays in the solar spectrum that if we could see in the X-ray portion of the spectrum, we'd be constantly bumping into things. But he can emit X-rays also, apparently.
Beam them out of his
his
head.
eyes. They pass through certain amounts of material, but not others, that are reflected back and enable him to see.
You know what got me? And I don't know if I was just being too geeky. In the original Superman movie, the one with Christopher Reeve,
right?
He's up being interviewed by Lois Lane in her penthouse apartment. And she says, "You have X-ray vision? What color underwear am I wearing?" He says, "Oh, I don't know." So you don't have? No, because she's standing behind a lead planter. All right. So then she drifts away,
right?
And he says pink or something. I forgot the exact color.
It is pink.
It is pink. Oh, so you knew. You remember? So you get the geek prize for this one. So if he has X-rays, how's X-ray going to? It's not going to see the color of her panties.
No, that's
the X-rays would go right through the panties.
Exactly right. He could basically check out her pelvic bone.
Her pelvic bone, the marrow in her pelvic bone.
Right. And the other notion that lead and only lead blocks his X-ray vision. X-rays scatter off of atoms depending on how many electrons
The spirits
they
have granted
the
us
larger
new
the
wisdom.
Atomic number of the atom, the more electrons. So gold would also be a good scatterer.
Our ships have been
those
improved.
big elements that are on the periodic table.
Exactly.
You don't just need lead.
We use lead for shielding because when we used gold for shielding, they kept evaporating. It kept disappearing overnight. And so you had to use something that was cheap and heavy.
When you say evaporating, you mean culturally evaporating.
Yes.
People said, "Oh, I'd like some of this gold."
Well, you come in the next morning and it's gone.
It's gone. There it is, the full analysis of Superman. So Eugene, this combination of talents that we accept as kind of realistic and
well, earlier when he was talking about how he was like, well, elongated man and Mr. Plastic, like or Plastic Man, that's unrealistic, but that's like somehow more unrealistic than Superman.
Well, actually, I could imagine seeing pink panties, believe it or not, if you know what the pigment is that creates the color pink, and different pigments have.
So you've been thinking about this ever since you've seen the movie.
Wait,
apparently.
so how can you tell if something is pink with X-ray
Well, you
vision?
have to know what pigments they use.
Different pigments would have different sort of atomic properties.
Oh, I see. You would know the atomic properties of the underwear, and then you'd go, "That's pink." That is a very smart alien.
No, you would know the atomic properties of the pigment that colored the panties.
Oh, I see.
It's different.
Exactly.
I see.
So in principle.
I'm glad you figured out how it would be realistic.
Yeah, Lee. Is that what you do in your Princeton labs?
I'd be fired if I did that. No. And the other thing is that the idea of creating
System survey
other animals
complete.
that don't create X-rays, but they create life. Fireflies. So in theory, we can create.
Blocker cleared.
So fireflies, their light source is It has like UV, right? There's UV in it, but not X-rays. What are you talking about?
No, not X-rays,
Right.
but other kinds of photons.
Oh, so you mean light that's outside of our visible spectrum? And so, if that's impossible in principle,
Yeah, and even it's all photons. It's just
So what we're saying is it is realistic to have echolocation, shoot spider webs, maybe even create a very bright light out of your face.
Right.
And be Batman. This is not bad. The fact and be superhumanly strong if you can be born with double muscles or remove the gene or
Lee Silver, you're
Yes.
professor of molecular biology, Princeton University, and it sounds like you're a fan of all the various physical properties that the animal kingdom possesses. And are you after the genetic code of what enables this, and one day you want to splice that into humans and create a superhuman? Is this what you're doing in your lab?
It's all in my imagination. I mean, as I said, anything in biology is possible. It's fun to think about.
If I came by Princeton, could you give me wings?
Well, they're flying squirrels, not
Yeah.
wings, but webs, and
Well, there's another superhero
Construction
property,
complete.
invisibility. Even Harry Potter can do this with his special cloak.
Well, he's magic.
That's magic. That's different. So I had to get to the bottom line on this invisibility stuff. So let's go back to my interview with James and find out what he says about this special superhero property.
There's the invisible woman. There's many characters who can turn invisible. One interesting question is, when they're invisible, how are they still able
Heretic
to see?
fleet
Because
engaged.
if light is passing through their body and not interacting, or bending around their
That'd be
body and
visible
not
light.
interacting.
Visible light.
Visible light. Yes, exactly right.
If you could see with radio waves, we'd be completely invisible because radio waves can pass through your body.
Absolutely. And in fact, this is how I think that the invisible woman can see.
You've analyzed this.
I've thought about this much more than I probably should. The reason we can see anything is that the atoms and molecules in our body absorb and then re-emit light in the visible portion of the spectrum.
Right.
If she's able to shift that transition point into the ultraviolet portion of the spectrum, then the visible light would pass through the same way the visible light passes through
A glass.
a window.
Oh, yeah, window.
Exactly.
Sure.
Right? But ultraviolet light would now be absorbed.
Okay.
And so, presumably, if this is how she turns invisible, then she's blind to visible light, but can see the ultraviolet light that is still present in significant
So that must
quantities.
be how she does it.
The next time I see
Otherwise-
her, but of course, the question is, when is the next time you see the invisible woman?
So in modern times, there are actually ways of becoming invisible. So, for example, glass is fundamentally invisible.
Special
right?
project
That's why we make
complete.
windows out of it. So
Evading
this notion of being
heretics.
invisible is not so foreign.
Right.
It's not so technologically out of touch with our capacity to understand.
Right.
In fact, your building is invisible to radio waves and most microwaves. That's why your cell phone can ring indoors and annoy performers on stage. Cell phones don't see the walls. Cell phones rays, the microwaves, they just pass right on through.
I feel like this has given me a lot of hope for becoming a superhero. I feel like if I could figure out a way
Blockers
to turn
cleared.
So what they're working
The
on now
spirits
is a
have-
kind of material that light enters, it hits your front, but then gets passed around the side of you and comes out coherently on the other side. So that if you're looking at that beam of light, you never knew that it actually went around your body girth to get to you. And as far as you're concerned, you're seeing straight through you.
But you have to be really narrow for that to work.
Well, it depends on how good the optics is in the curved light properties of the material that they put together. We've got to take a quick break, but more Star Talk when we return.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Lowe here. If you haven't heard, I have a podcast that's called Literally with Rob Lowe. And basically it's conversations I've had that really make you feel like you're pulling up a chair at an intimate dinner between myself and people that I admire, like Aaron Sorkin or Tiffany Haddish, Demi Moore, Chris Pratt, Michael J. Fox. There are new episodes out every Thursday, so subscribe, please, and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
As a parent, snack time can be a battle. Ew! But with Simply Doritos, I can give my kids the flavors they love with ingredients I feel good about. Ooh! No artificial colors or flavors, and made with 8 grams of whole grains per serving. Try Simply Doritos today.
This is Star Talk Radio. Welcome back. So do you want a cape?
I do. Yeah, well, here's the thing about a cape. It's one of the only things I can definitely do that a superhero has. Like, I don't...
Don a cape.
I can put on a cape. I can't have claws. Can I have claws? Can I have claws come out of my hand?
According to Lee, any other creature on Earth that has claws, he can hook you up with one day with genetically engineered.
Can some come out of my hands?
We could put tissue on that does that, sure.
Tissue?
Not Kleenex.
Yes. Oh.
He's a biologist.
I see.
Biological tissue. Sure, the gross claws.
Great. I can have... Well, so basically, first step, I can get a cape. And I can be fireproof.
We've actually done some research on capes.
Oh.
Yeah, movies have. And so there's no better expert than Edna on capes. You know Edna?
Yes.
You do?
Incredible.
Yes, here she goes. Let's find out what she tells us about capes and superhero powers.
Something classic, like the Dyna guy. Oh, he had a great look. Oh, the cape and the boots.
No capes.
Isn't that my decision?
Do you remember Thunderhead? Tall, storm powers. Nice man. Good with kids.
Listen.
November 15th of 58. All was well, another day saved, when his cape snagged on a missile ring.
Thunderhead was not the brightest bulb.
Stratogale, April 23rd, 57. Cape caught in a jet turbine.
You can't generalize about this.
Meta-Man, express elevator. Dyna guy, snag on takeoff. Splashdown, sucked into a vortex. Nook it!
Capes are bad, Eugene.
Hey, are there capes that can make you invisible?
Oh, not. Oh. You mean, are there in the government?
Yeah. Has the government made stuff that can make people seem invisible?
I'm not authorized to answer that question. Next.
Are there invisible tanks? What's invisible?
I'm not authorized.
What exists that's sort of invisible?
Invisible airplanes.
I don't know, Eugene. I don't know.
You made me ask you. I asked you earlier and you said ask me on air, and now I asked you and you're like, I don't know. To embarrass
Eugene,
me.
I am not authorized to divulge that information.
All right.
My access to top secret
information. So there might be invisible capes and invisible tanks, and there might not, which is what I already knew.
The question is, if I knew about one, would I tell you? That's the real question.
Would you not just tell me? Would you tell the world?
You know what else we've got going there? There's like people who change the temperature of things. That's kind of weird.
Yes, Oven Man.
Let's go back to the final clip of my interview with James Kakalios, author
Construction
of The Physics of
complete.
Superheroes. Just see what he says about ice. Find out. We had Frozone. How does he do that?
Right. Also, there's a character, the X-Men Iceman. They have ice powers, and it's described by their being able to change the local temperature around them so that what they're just doing is then freezing the water vapor that is present anyway. And so they're not creating
That's how they can make
ice.
these crystals there.
They're
right.
not creating ice, they're lowering the temperature around them.
So
The
whatever's
ice
there
would
freezes in
condense.
place.
Exactly right. So if you put them out in, say, the desert, their powers would be greatly reduced.
Because there's not much moisture in the desert.
Exactly right.
And frozen sand is not that interesting.
No, it isn't. Of course, there was Iceman, and even Frozone would sometimes make these ice ramps that they would, skate up.
Mm-hmm.
And frequently, the ramps would be supported on the ground, and then they would become very long, and the character would be out at the end, way beyond the center of mass of the ramp. And in one comic, Iceman, in an informational page to the readers, said, "Did I just hear a wise guy physics major ask what's keeping this up?"
What?
Yep. And he said...
He's talking to you.
He was talking to me, and he gave an answer I cannot argue with. Imagination.
Oh, that's a cop-out. Oh, my God. So there it is, Eugene. Imagination makes it all happen.
That's right.
And James, in your biophysics labs, what role does Lee, in your biophysics labs, what role does that play?
Imagination's everything.
It's everything.
You have to imagine things before you can discover them in what exists.
Spoken like a true scientist on the frontier, right?
Yes.
Not doing just what everyone else has done.
Science is art.
Stepping where no one has stepped before. This superhero concept is it worked its way
Construction
into
complete.
culture, and there are people There are reports of people, bands of people, donning masks and capes and tights, trying to stop crime in various cities. There's one that caught my attention in Seattle. A, quote, superhero by the name of Phoenix Jones prevented a carjacking in January of this year, complete with, like, you know, he's got a mask, he's got tights, and he's one of, like, 8 members of the Rain City superhero movement. What does that even mean?
Do they work in conjunction with the police there? Or are they wanted like Batman?
But yeah, you have to be wanted, otherwise it's not sexy, you know?
Yeah, well, at what point does that turn into, like, being a vigilante?
To be creepy vigilante.
And there's a turf battle there between the police and the vigilantes.
So, yeah, I guess on some level we like the idea of superheroes protecting us, having special powers. I happen to really like the movie with
Mr. Glass or something.
Yeah, what was the name?
Danger Train.
The train.
I forget.
It had Bruce Willis in it.
It did, and he was sort of magic.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
There we go. I like that one. Because he was just
There's so many people listening going, Unbreakable! But I'm glad we got to it.
Trying to slap me through the radio waves there. So, yeah, you know, I as a kid, I wanted to be a superhero. I felt the urge to want to save people who were disenfranchised or taken advantage of. And I didn't know if that was just me or other people. It had to be plenty of people because the genre is hugely popular.
Right.
And it's fun to think about the science of it.
I think it's fun to be helpful, but it's also fun to be magic.
Yes.
So, like, part of it is I'd love to help people, but mostly I'd like to be able to jump from one building to another and be like, that worked.
So you want to have superpowers, but not actually save anybody.
I would totally, if I had superpowers, save people, but I bet it would be an exhausting responsibility. That's what they don't say in Spider-Man.
We got to wind down. Eugene, I want to thank you for coming back on the Star Talk Radio. You do great comedic work. And Lee, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Our biologist at large. We have to call you again one time.
Sure.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Star Talk Radio. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, and as always, I bid you to keep looking up.
Log off and check in with the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless Card and earn a free night award every card anniversary. Learn more at marriottbonvoy.com/boundless.
Restrictions and limitations apply. Offer subject to change. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of entertainment for your whole crew. Where do we go to next? With something for everyone, whether you're at home or on the go. If you want something new, like Dora and the Search for Sol Dorado. I'm Dora the Explorer. Vámonos. Something loved, like SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm ready! And something to stream together.
Special
like
project complete.
Go! Find it all on Paramount Plus. Stream now.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive, where drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. Plus, auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Quote now at progressive.com to see if you can save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, national average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Welcome to Star Talk, your place in the universe where science and pop culture collide. Star Talk begins right now. This is Star Talk Radio. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist. And this week, I'm joined again by comedian Leanne Lord. Welcome back, Leanne. And also joining me is special guest Phil Plait, the bad astronomer. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I got you on the show because I happen to know that you're an expert. I count myself as an expert in this as well, but you're like a real expert in criticizing science in movies. And today's show is about science in movies. When do they get it right? When do they get it wrong? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, when they get it right is rarely, and when they get it wrong is all the time. So this is going to be pretty pretty lengthy show. So I suggest everybody.
It's a double feature.
Sit back and relax, folks.
So I look at the top 5 science fiction movies gross of all time worldwide, and number 1 is obvious. It's Avatar. Avatar. Oh, what, Leanne? What?
Go on, please.
Are you jealous that because they were hot women that were blue and you're not blue? Is that the problem?
Oh, that is totally not my issue.
Do you go blue in your comedy?
No, not really. Not really. My mom comes to my show. She keeps me honest.
I wonder if the blue man group, you know, that I wonder if they had that'd be cool.
They have a lawsuit out, actually. That's the problem.
So, of course, there was Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. So that's Episode 4 for those who are not Star Wars geeks. It's Episode 1 that came after Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, I heard they were going to make 3 more Star Wars movies after the original 3, but as far as I know, those were never made, Neil.
Wow, I love you.
Ooh. Well, let's do these one at a time. Let's go back to Avatar. I thought Avatar was fine. I didn't have issues with it. I was a little concerned about the unobtainium. Like, what the hell is that? But otherwise, Phil, what did you think?
Unobtainium is a standard science fiction joke. That's been around, I don't even know how long.
Well, apparently it was a serious mineral on this planet.
Well, I think they named it that tongue-in-cheek because it's been used by science fiction authors since the 50s. I mean, I remember reading that as a kid.
Okay.
And in The Core, they do the same thing.
In the movie The Core. We'll get to The Core a little later.
But they use that as a shield to protect them from the Earth's heat.
Okay.
So it's sort of a standard kind of an inside show.
Standards like placeholder name for whatever.
Something hard
right.
Get, you know, to
But you otherwise have issues with it. 9-foot blue people on a planet moon.
I actually I haven't seen the movie.
Wow!
I think that's all that needs to be said, quite frankly.
Well, forget you then. Oh, Leanne, how'd you do with Avatar?
I would have liked to have seen a script. That would have been nice. Some real writing, you know, all the writers in the world who are unemployed. It would have been nice.
15 years making this movie.
They did. They spent it.
At no point did nobody say, you know, maybe this needs a script.
That's what bothers me most. All these wonderful, well, quote unquote, wonderful science fiction effects, these special effects, and not one writer. The Writers Guild. I go to the meetings, dude. Everybody's unemployed.
They're all unemployed.
Everybody would have signed on.
I tweeted about it, and I remember saying this movie, the recipe for it is like 3 parts The Matrix, 2 parts Pocahontas, and because there's a lot of sort of evil Westerners taking over the native culture that's all connected to nature.
It was very subtle.
And Fern Gully. That's what everybody was telling me. And I saw Fern Gully with my daughter when she was very young, and everybody said it's exactly that movie.
And there they were with USB ponytails because they take their ponytail, plug it into the plants, and then they became one with the plants, electrochemically one.
Normally, people connect with plants and then become one with something else.
Oh, by smoking the plants.
That's how I've heard about this.
Wow.
Yes.
And now that's a different show as well.
So how about Jurassic Park? That one is everybody's favorite. You know, how do you feel about that?
I have to distinguish between a movie I really enjoyed and the scientific accuracy of a movie. And I can do that.
Okay, why didn't Jurassic Park do both?
Well, because the science in it was silly. Uh-oh. Yes. You know what?
No, please. I'm kidding.
No giant dinosaurs. Sorry. Incredibly enjoyable movie. Fantastic special effects. Great soundtrack. I like John Williams. But being able to extract DNA from a mosquito's stomach just doesn't work. It's sort of like...
Well, it doesn't work yet.
It won't work at all. I mean, basically what your stomach is designed to do is take substances from other things,
and
plants
digest
and
them.
And digest them.
No, but it just... No, I thought they covered their ass on that. Oops. Am I laughing?
Okay.
They covered their buttocks on that
Their
one because they showed the mosquito freshly sucking the blood of whatever dinosaur it was, and moments after that, a bead of sap covered over the mosquito, so it got trapped with undigested blood in its belly.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
Oh, I just thought he had stomach issues, and that's how they were able to.
Now, you know what? I'm not a biologist. Do red blood corpuscles have DNA? They don't have a nucleus, do they?
And this is where we need a call-in.
Yeah. So if you're out there on Twitter,
tweet us.
Yeah.
So now I have colleagues at the museum who study amber, right? Because the mosquito was trapped in amber. And they said the best amber for this sort of thing is in New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah, but in the movie they showed them going to some exotic island
and
plucking it out of a cave or wherever. So it just would have looked a little less interesting if they went to Hackensack, to get the...
I see. Well, amber is orangish, right? So how could they tell
amber
that? They could go to New Jersey.
Amber is amber.
So they missed
amber color.
So they missed an opportunity to tie this in with the Jersey Shore.
There you
go. What
Snooki is sort of the same color, right?
Yes, and we would like to see her encased in amber. That would be lovely.
So how about Transformers? What'd you think of that?
Okay, perfect example. I really enjoyed this movie. People were going crazy.
System survey
I'm
complete.
A little bit too old to have really gotten into the TV show because I think that was in the 80s, and by then I was already moving on to different shows.
Which was back when it was just a
construction complete.
Exactly. But I figured, hey, giant robots beating the crap out of each other, and you know what? That's what I got.
Kicking butt, taking
awesome
names.
Flick. And it was a funny movie. I really enjoyed it. The science of it was pretty simple because you've got this object which evidently has a huge amount of mass, and they shrink it down until it can fit in your hand. And somehow all of the mass went away. They were picking up and walking around. It was like
so you had mass issues.
Yeah, exactly. That was a pain in the mass, if that's what you want.
Pain in the mass, very nice.
This thing's down the size of a Rubik's Cube, and it should weigh as much as a mountain, and they're just running around with it. Now, maybe it has special inertialess powers.
Anti-gravity.
Yeah.
Because when you shrink
they never
things,
say that.
Yeah, they never say that. But what I liked about it was how they constructed the cover-up for it. I thought that was great. That's why they built the Hoover Dam. Because that's when they came, and that's where we got all of the high-tech discoveries from reverse engineering these Transformers from another planet. I thought that was a cool sort of backstory to make that happen.
Yeah, and I thought it was fine. Now, the second movie was not as good.
Okay, so we'll continue.
In that it was terrible.
There's a NASA panel that got together to decide, I guess for the guidance of others, what the 5 best science-based movies of all time are.
And Transformers was on that?
No, it was so not on that list. But one of them, one of my favorite movies, a lower budget one, was Gattaca. Gattaca, remember that?
Very good flick.
Yeah, very good flick. And the title of that movie is spelled by the letters of the amino acids that are the protein of life, the proteins of life.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down.
Yeah. What else could they spell? Is he tact?
Yeah. So can you recite that there's guanine at
Construction complete.
That's later. It's
cytosine.
Thiamine.
Special project complete.
Thiamine.
And you guys are professionals. Because I don't know this. I have an excuse.
So for those who hadn't seen Gattaca, it's a story where you can get your DNA selected for you so that your offspring can get the best possible version of the you and your mate that is possible. I mean, that is possible, that you can possibly construct out of it. So they're not engineering DNA. They're simply new DNA. They're simply assembling all the features that you want to have in your children from what already exists in your genetic profile. And so it's basically a genetically engineered society, but not outside of the bounds of what you could have produced otherwise.
Right. And the story becomes when everybody is genetically engineered to be superior, there are people who are not. And how do they survive?
Who are not engineers?
Society?
How do they? Yeah, because they're not as smart, they're not as quick, they're not as, they smell worse.
I mean, clearly this is not going to be covered in everybody's health plan. This is going to be, that's a hell of a deductible.
So it's now what was not a follow-on to that, but was basically the same movie, but with a much higher budget, was The Island, which I thought was a high art. The way they filmed it, the concepts, the emotion, the drama.
That was Scarlett Johansson, wasn't it?
Well, she was in it. Yes, is that all you remembered from the movie?
Well, the thing is, I never saw it, and she was in it, and so that might tell you, something about this movie.
No, actually, I thought it was well done. In this case, you can genetically engineer your twin, but the twin does not come into being at birth. They can be born as adults, and then they live out their lives, and they are all harvested for whatever organs you might need later in life, and they don't even know it. They're kept on an island. Well, on an intellectual island. They don't know where they are. They think they're on an island, and they just live out their lives. And there's a fake disaster outside of this island where if they went out, they would die. So they all believe that they're safe. But then they're told that they created a safe haven for them, but not everyone can go. So when their lottery number comes up, then they can go. But that means it's ready. The Arvins they get harvested.
This sounds like part Logan's Run, part Lost.
And part Clonus, the parts, the Clonus horror. I don't know if you ever saw this terrible 70s movie.
Terrible 70s movie?
Yeah,
what are the odds?
Hard to believe, isn't it? But I always wonder about this. Why grow a whole person? That seems like an awful lot of trouble.
That's a good
get
point.
A finger.
Yeah. It's good.
Oh, I shot my finger off making a salad, and I'm gonna have to kill this person.
Yeah, but if you're right-handed, you want that finger back.
Well, yeah, but I would just grow a finger.
Yeah, you just grow the finger. Right. Yeah. That's all the histrionics of the whole person is so out there. Now another movie. I think the best. I think it's the best film of the 90s, maybe second only to The Matrix in my sort of sci-fi opinion, is Contact, the Carl Sagan story, Contact. That got it. Oh.
I think we found a fan.
Oh, he's your boy.
You are so cool. I am totally
You like those
digging her.
turtlenecks.
Yeah.
You like those turtlenecks. So it's his story, and it thinks through what it would be like to make first contact with intelligent life that's out there. And I think what they put a lot of effort into was capturing how the public would react to such a discovery. And how crazy people start out crazy. Now you add this element on it, we make contact with an intelligent species, and then the crazy becomes crazy squared.
Right.
So how did you react?
I thought it was great, but I read the novel. The novel is even better than the movie. The ending of that novel still gives me chills when I think about it. And part of the beauty of that movie is how they detect the civilization, how the civilization communicates with us, how that all works, is really quite possibly how it would happen. Of course, it's based on Sagan's work. So
I agree with that. We're wrapping up our first segment here. We're going to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're listening to Star Talk Radio. Back in a moment.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of entertainment for your whole crew. Where do we go to next? With something for everyone, whether you're at home or on the go. If you want something new, like Dora and the Search for Sol Dorado. I'm Dora the Explorer. Vámonos. Something loved, like SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm ready! And something to stream together, like Survivor. Survivor's ready. Go! Find it all on Paramount Plus. Stream now.
You know, one of the best feelings in the world is seeing your child excited about going back to school. And that's when you know they've had some pretty doggone good teachers. As back to school gets underway, this is the best time to learn more about how to get involved in your child's school, team up with their teachers, and make sure everyone has what they need to succeed. The National Education Association is made up of 3 million educators and allies across the country, dedicated to giving every student access to great public education. Parents and teachers are a team, working together to make sure our students have the resources they need to succeed. No matter where we live or who we are, our public schools are a place our kids can feel safe, supported, and ready to thrive. Every child belongs in a great public school. From big cities to rural towns, public schools belong to us all. Learn how you can get involved in your public school community at nea.org/backtoschool.
This is an ad for the Active Cash credit card from Wells Fargo. That's a mouthful. But that's because it packs a lot in. Earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases made with it, big or small. So, whether it's buying tickets to the game with your mum or grabbing a coffee with your dog, earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases made with it. Say it with me. The Active Cash credit card from Wells Fargo. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply.
Star Talk, we're back. Today's special guest is Phil Plait, who is a commentator extraordinaire on science fiction films. And we're joined again by Leanne Lord. We're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're still in sort of the good segment of movies. Contact is up there among the best movies, I think, that capture the science. And it also captured, I think, the social, cultural reactions to the discovery of life in the universe. Did you otherwise have any issues or problems with the science as captured there?
There was one or two small mistakes.
Like what? Like what?
I think it was when Jodie Foster is talking to Matthew McConaughey in the movie, and she's trying to describe how many stars there are and how many civilizations are.
Go on.
Okay. And she says if there are 100 million galaxies out there, and if 1 in a million has.
No, I got it.
Okay, you know it? Okay, I don't have the quote.
No, I'll tell you why I got it.
Okay.
Because I was at the world premiere in Pasadena, and Jodie Foster's 2 rows ahead of me, and I've got the guy whose equation they're verbally capturing. This is
Frank Drake.
Frank Drake is 2 rows behind me. This is the equation that estimates how much life there might be in the universe, and Jodie Foster getting inch by inch closer to Matthew McConaughey with the sky in the background, Arecibo Observatory. It's a romantic moment in anticipation of their first kiss, basically. And she says, if they're
he can hardly hold it back here.
Of the 100 billion stars in the galaxy, if only 1 in a million of them had planets, and only 1 of the million of those with planets had life, and only 1 of the million of those with life had intelligent life, that still leaves millions of planets to find.
I think that's right. That sounds right.
If you do the math, that leaves 0.0001 planets. The division was wrong there.
You're ruining a romantic moment with math.
Well, so I got all upset about this because this is simple arithmetic. And Jodie Foster went to Yale last I checked, and don't they have arithmetic at Yale?
So she should have turned to a director and went, "Cut, I can't do this. This isn't right. I'm in my trailer."
So I mentioned this to her at the after party. I said, "Jodie, you got this wrong." She said, "Oh, I worked so hard to memorize that line." And so it meant it was just a line rather than an actual mathematical statement.
Right.
And so then I thought maybe they could just put other words inside, like Forrest Gump style, you just sort of change the words with the image. But no, they just left it in because the very next scene was the 2 of them waking up in bed. So this is what got her laid at that moment.
An alien empire now speaks to us in the language of the
That for me,
divine.
and I'm pretty bad at math. I'm thinking if you talk about every galaxy in the universe, there are about 100 billion galaxies.
100 billion, sure.
With 100 billion stars in them each. That's 10 to the 22. And she had 3 factors of a million. That's 10 to the 18. That would leave thousands.
Thousands if she did that for all the stars in the universe. But she started with the galaxy, and that's why that was
and
the
it's
issue.
still wrong because it would be thousands,
You know
not
what?
millions.
You guys are right. That is sexier. Oh my gosh.
You
Is
like
it warm
that?
in here?
Yeah.
Is it warm in here?
Oh, if only this were television and not radio. You should see her right now. She's fanning herself.
Leanne is feeling it. Another one. How about one of my favorite of the good movies is Deep Impact.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Got all the good science, and what I liked about that is they understood that if you're going to get hit by an asteroid, you'll probably get hit in the ocean.
Right.
Because Earth is a 70% ocean surface. And of course all the producers want to destroy the cities. But you can still do that. You do it with a tsunami, as they did with New York and other sort of major coastal properties. But what was your reaction to it?
I thought Deep Impact was a terrific movie. I think the screenplay was written by a scientist. And very, very much of the movie is quite accurate. My favorite scene, I was watching this in the theater, my favorite scene is when they go to the comet. And in other movies, they might land on it. But in this one, because a comet, even though it's 10 miles across, it's roughly the size of a large mountain or bigger, the gravity of a comet's very weak. So you can't really land on it. So instead, they pull up next to it.
You couldn't. It'd be hard to
stay there.
Stay there.
Yeah,
a breeze would blow you into orbit.
Yeah, if a little bit of the comet evaporated, it would puff you away. So instead, they park near it and then shoot basically
harpoons.
Harpoons or pitons, and then
there's a word for it. What is it?
Wait,
what's the word?
Isn't it pitons when you are climbing a mountain or something like that?
So I'm a city person. So
okay,
I have
that's
no
right.
idea
Yeah.
that
And
that's
I live in Boulder, and I actually don't know, so I'll probably get thrown out of the town now. And then they basically winch themselves down to the comet, and I was like cheering in the theater, and I'm surprised I wasn't escorted out of there.
So they got their gravity right, is
that
what you're saying.
That was fantastic.
There.
Yeah,
that was good.
And I actually use the tsunami scene when I give public talks about asteroid impacts because it is so well done and so accurate. And I tell people that they might even be underestimating the damage from an impact like this.
And you got to admit that portrayed, I think, the best president there ever was in a movie.
In fact,
Morgan Freeman as president was so convincing and so authoritative, and he played that role just the way you would want a president to be. What, Leanne?
No, I'm just asking, is anybody bothered that natural disasters of this magnitude always seem to happen on a black president's watch? Anybody? Anybody, or am I being a good
always?
Yeah, I was on.
Danny Glover, he was president. Something went down. I mean,
that's true.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to too many rallies.
In 2012, was the president black in 2012? No, I don't remember.
Did we see a president?
I blacked most of that movie out. It's a 3-hour movie. I remember like 4 seconds of it because I think that's
We'll
how
get
long
to it.
the plot actually lasted.
We'll get to 2012 because that's in the bad section.
Oh my
yes.
word.
Okay.
Is it really? Kidding.
But I do want to add with
Wow,
Deep Impact made one mistake that was kind of a big one, and that is when they blow up the big piece of comet. It's about 5 miles across, and they blow it up. It actually disintegrates, and still all the pieces hit the Earth's atmosphere and burn up. And the problem is that's still going to kill everybody because the energy of an impact of an object depends on its mass and its velocity. It's the kinetic energy. And when they blow this thing up, the mass hasn't changed. It's just in small pieces. And the velocity hasn't changed either. So the total mass, the total energy that's released by this impact is exactly the same. It's just spread out over more area. So in the end of Deep Impact, really everybody should have died anyway.
Bumming us out.
Yeah, sorry.
So no residuals for anybody on this movie.
That's true. So, but one thing I do love about that movie
Wait,
is...
it is possible, it is possible that if the pieces are small enough, they'll burn up in the upper atmosphere and their heat radiates back into space. Whereas if the whole thing gets through, then all the energy goes to Earth's surface.
Maybe, but we're talking about an object that's 5 miles across. Yeah. So I'm still thinking that even if like 5% of it dumps its heat into the Earth's atmosphere, it's still a bad day. Truly screwed.
It's still you basically get flash cooked.
Yeah. It would bad.
Yeah.
SPF a billion. Yeah.
So what else do I got here? I got my list here. Is there any particular? What's your favorite science fiction movie of all time that got the science right? Is it in this
they
list?
got the science right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Deep Impact is way up on the list. Contact is way up on the list. 2001 has really accurate science. It has its errors.
I know a couple of errors inside.
Yeah.
Tell me what. We'll just go back and forth.
They are so nitpicky.
Let's go back and forth.
Okay.
And who the last man standing wins. Okay, go.
Oh,
Pick
man.
one. Go. 2001: A Space Odyssey. 1968 was it?
68, 69.
Yeah. Okay.
Stanley Kubrick. When they're on the moon and they go to Tycho Base and they show the Earth over the horizon, it's too close to the horizon.
Too close to the horizon.
Yeah, it would be much higher up.
Earth never sets from the near side of the moon.
Right.
So they got but did it fit nicely in the frame?
Oh, well, sure. That's a canonic scene.
Okay, so then it's not a mistake. They took some creative liberties to make the scene look cool. I don't count that as a mistake.
By that you make mistakes.
That's a creative mistake rather than that they don't know what they're doing mistake.
I'm glad you agree with me. One for me. Go ahead.
Okay, good. If you calculate the rotation rate of the space station,
yes,
it is 3 times too fast for the to make 1 G on board the space station. On board the rotating.
I've done that calculation. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 times
too fast.
It's way too fast, but it looks nice.
Yes.
So I'll give him that, because if it went slower, it's too slow, and the movie's already kind of slow in those scenes.
It would match the pace of the movie.
I watched that movie when it came out, and I think I'm still watching it. That's how slow that movie is.
All right, so your turn.
You want nitpicky?
Yes, go.
When Haywood Floyd is on the Pan Am shuttle, Pan Am, which is now out of business by 2001, actually, and he's on his way to the space station, I think it was, they give him some food.
Yes.
And he slurps it up through a straw. The level of the drink or whatever goes back down when he releases with his mouth. And that happens because of gravity. I believe it happens because of gravity on the Earth. I can actually explain that, though. If the food is in sort of an airtight container, then air pressure is all you need to suck it back down the straw. And I've gone back and forth.
Wait, what you're saying is that
people,
he's in 0 G
he's
on
in
that
0
trip.
G, that's
so
right.
therefore the liquid should just stay up in the straw.
I think so, but I'm not sure. If he's drawing it up through a container, then the pressure gets lower. It would go back down, but it's arguable either way.
The rebuttal that I heard was that he just simply blew it back down.
Really? Okay.
That's the rebuttal.
But I think air pressure would do it. I think that's one of those marginal.
Air pressure inside the vehicle itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your turn. Science Smackdown. I am loving this.
I'm trying to remember the movie. Right
okay, I got one. You ready?
Yeah.
The monolith is supposed to have 0 albedo if you read the novel, okay?
That's right.
Yet, all images of the monolith, you can see the edge between one side and the other.
Right.
Which implies that it reflects differently on one side than the other, whereas it has 0 albedo, all light that hits it is absorbed. And
The
you would not be able
spirits
to
have
see an
granted
edge,
us new wisdom.
with a slightly different reflectivity than as you do in the film.
Albedo being the reflectivity. 0 is perfectly black, white
Perfectly
is perfectly white. You might be able to explain this as a phase effect. If the light hits it at a different angle, then it might reflect off, because albedo does depend on the angle.
This is
of the
an
light hitting
alien
it.
zero albedo. There's no, they'll get every light that hits it.
Okay.
It's an alien thing.
All right, I'll give you that one.
You give me that. Okay. Your turn.
I'm trying to. It's been so long since I've seen the movie. Haywood Floyd is played by a different actor in 2010, the sequel. He's younger.
You have an issue with
Roy
that?
Scheider. No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm desperate.
Okay. I'll give you time. We'll come back to
actually, you
that.
know what? There's a scene in the moon bus when they go from the moon base to see the monolith, and it's unclear whether they're actually in a ballistic trajectory or just
Or
like
suspending
using
themselves.
rockets or jets to suspend themselves.
When we come back on Star Talk, we'll talk about the bad ones in the good, the bad, and the ugly of science fiction films. Be there. We're back. Just to finish out the good before we get to the bad of science fiction films, I got to give a shout out to the animated feature Chicken Little, when the sky was falling. I got to give a shout out.
Didn't see that coming at all.
That
Wait, Chicken Run or Chicken Little?
not Chicken
Okay.
Run, which I enjoyed. That was the
It's not in the notes, people.
with the Wallace and Gromit. Chicken Little, where the sky is falling. All right. So how does the sky fall? In the movie, they're aliens who come to visit, and they replace the sky with these tiles that are hexagonal, because they'd have to be to tile a surface. No other shape. Well, square can do it, I guess, and triangles. But how many shapes can tile a surface? It's like
a
3.
hemispherical surface? Yeah, not very
Well, if it's a
many.
big enough hemisphere, you can
If
make
they're
it.
all the same shape, yeah.
Yeah. So they have hexagonal shapes, and the way they work is it's a piece of hardware that carries forth the image of what's behind it. So if you drop one of these on the floor, you say, "Oh, that's a hexagon." A few seconds later, it reads the entire carpet pattern, makes that the upper surface, and so therefore it looks like it disappears.
Right.
So you don't even know you're walking on these tiles. So so what had happened was Chicken Little saw one of these hexagons accidentally fall out of the sky. So the aliens were doing something. I don't know what it was. But I just thought that they had to put in some kind of topology, some geometry, and just a little shout out to
And
Chicken
a clever
Little.
idea. That's actually pretty good.
It is.
Yeah, I
and
like
he's
that.
got one of these, and he plays with it. He puts it in front of his bed, and it disappears, and it looks like his bed on its floor and his cabinet. So anyhow, just a shout out.
I can find a lot of uses for something.
Let's go to
I'm
the
sure
bad.
military could too.
I've got Phil Plait here, the bad astronomer, Leanne Lord, comedian. 2012, the movie. Phil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what?
I didn't mind the science. It was a neutrino transition out of the sun, which was a new decay of the neutrino that gets absorbed inside the Earth, heating the Earth from the inside out. I didn't have a problem with that.
Really?
Wow.
Really? Okay. And our time is up, folks. Thanks for listening.
My big problem is the premise that a limo could somehow save you under these conditions.
Well, the 75th time that John Cusack and Amanda Peet narrowly escape a crack opening up underneath them as they're running away. So, but this idea of neutrinos are subatomic particle. They are. They move in such a way that they don't interact with normal matter very well. So the thing that most people say is they can pass through a light year of lead without interacting with it. And honestly, that's not so far off. And so these things pass through the Earth. There are millions of neutrinos passing through right now. They pass right through you. You don't even know it.
And then,
You felt that? Yeah, that's right.
And the point is the neutrinos don't know it either because they're not interacting with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so for them to actually interact with the Earth is kind of ridiculous.
They invented a new transition of the neutrino state that does interact with the Earth. Once you buy into that premise, yes, the Earth would be heated from the inside out. I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
Okay, how about the core?
Neil's wrong.
How about the core?
That I think we can agree with. An enjoyable movie, liked the acting, liked it. I thought it was really funny and enjoyed it. Just terrible. The science in it was just terrible. The idea was that the Earth's core stops rotating. and somehow this is collapsing the Earth's magnetic field, and it lets dangerous things from the sun. Evidently not super neutrinos in this case, but other things happen. And
because the magnetic field would normally protect us from these dangerous forces from the sun.
And there are problems with this in that the core can't just stop rotating. And even if it could, I don't think it would really matter. But then what they show, the Earth's magnetic field not working anymore, what was starting to hit the Earth were microwaves. They specifically say microwaves. And there's the scene with the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and these beams are coming down and boiling the water and doing stuff like that. And it's like, well, microwaves aren't affected by magnetic fields. Microwaves are just another form of light. They're not particles. And so they're not deflected by the Earth's magnetic field at all. You can have one or not. Microwaves from the sun are still coming. And even if they are, it's not like your microwave oven. The sun barely puts out microwaves at all in that case. They can't cook anything. So that whole thing was just wrong from top to bottom.
So one of the worst, and in fact, on a NASA panel, they judged that as one of the worst science movies of all time.
I'm not surprised. And as an astronomer, I could watch it and enjoy it. All of my friends who are geophysicists.
Yeah, I got some of them too.
Yeah.
They couldn't stand it.
Yeah, they felt the same way about that movie.
They needed therapy.
They needed therapy at the end of that movie.
It's wrong.
Yeah, and there were honestly some good scenes, but
now they know what we feel like, because more of the sci-fi movies are cosmic rather than geological.
Right.
And they're up there saying, "Oh, you just overreacted." No, we were not.
No.
Yeah.
You see?
What's that? What?
That brings up for me an interesting point. Does anyone, when they're writing this stuff, ever say, "Hey, I should call somebody and do a little fact checking, do a little background"?
Apparently not.
Okay.
Well, the guy who wrote the core, now I may be misremembering this, but I believe he had a master's degree in geophysics.
And that explains a lot about our education system.
Well, I don't know if I would say that. The problem here is Hollywood, right? You hand in a script, and then 50 other people rewrite it.
That's true.
So he's siding with the scientists, assuming that the scientists got it right and that Hollywood messed it up.
That's very possible.
That betrays your profession.
I gotta stick by my
my
peeps. Yeah.
Your peeps. How about Armageddon? That's everyone's favorite movie to hate.
By the end of that movie, I was rooting for the asteroid. I have never seen a movie with more mistakes in it in my life.
Give me your top 3 mistakes.
I can't. I simply the credits. I mean,
wow.
there are
misspelled names.
This movie has more mistakes than frames. From the opening scene where they talk about the dinosaur killer impact.
System survey complete.
Heston narrating, and they say the explosion was the force of 10,000 atomic bombs. And it's like, no, try 10 billion atomic bombs.
Yeah, it's way more than that.
Unbelievable. In a movie where they exaggerate everything in the movie. The one thing that's actually scientific, they screw it up and underestimate it.
And they underestimate it.
Yes.
So that's how bad it was. They didn't even get the thing that they should have gotten right.
Right. And so you've got this asteroid the size of Texas, discovered 18 days before impact. They're going to blow it up with a bomb, split it in half, and the two pieces are going to expand fast enough.
And by the way, an asteroid the size of Texas, we would have found that 200 years ago.
Exactly.
That's a huge asteroid.
Like, big mistake. The biggest asteroid in the solar system, Ceres, is roughly the size of Texas.
Yeah.
And it was discovered in 1801.
Right.
So, anything like that we'd see. If it took 18 days to get from the asteroid belt to the Earth, it would be moving faster than any spacecraft we've ever launched. I mean, that's hugely fast.
And meanwhile, they're sending the space shuttle, which is not equipped to go beyond a couple hundred miles above Earth's orbit. They're sending that out to the deep space.
Oh, but this was the X-35 secret military space shuttle. And so
okay.
And then they're going to blow it up with a bomb. It's going to split it in half with the two halves separating and missing the Earth. You can calculate the energy of that bomb roughly. You have to make some estimations, but you can do that, and it would actually explode with the same energy that the sun emits. And so we don't have a bomb like that. That's
we know.
It's 100 million gigaton bomb, I think is the number. Something like that.
Gigaton.
And it's like, that would be. That's bad. I mean, in a word, that would be bad.
Bad bomb.
And so, at that point when Ben Affleck was crying, at that point I was like, yeah, I'm with you, Ben.
And it's Bruce Willis saving the world, Cracker Jack oil drillers.
I want to like Bruce Willis in this movie. Liv Tyler is in this movie, and I didn't like it.
That made it work for me, I think. That was working.
And you know what? It is a funny movie. I have to admit, there are enjoyable moments to it and everything like that. But honestly, it's, a friend of mine likened it to having a steel pail put over your head and somebody hitting you with a wrench for 2 hours. That's really it.
That's pretty specific.
Yeah.
Now, but I thought if actually it was
Spaceborne
written
creature
in a rather witty way, there
encountered.
was a lot of good one-liners. It was kind of fun and jocular. Would you agree?
Yeah.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
When Steve Buscemi gets
Council
space
agenda
madness,
ready.
You know, why is there a machine gun on a shuttle? What do they need this for?
All right, so now, okay, so you vetted.
Council
I've got to
agenda
vet
available.
another Vent. I've got to. You vetted your venting. I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I actually have a run-in with Jim Cameron regarding Titanic.
I know the story.
You know this story.
I like this. This is a good story.
May I tell this story?
It's a good story.
I was one of the last people to watch the Titanic in the movie theater, and I'm watching it, and there's Kate Winslet. Okay, the ship sinks. She's on the floe on the plank, looking up, singing deliriously, looking up into the sky. We know the day, the time, the year, the location, the longitude and latitude of where the Titanic sank. There is only one sky she should have been looking at as she looked straight up, and it was the wrong sky. It was not only the wrong sky, the left half of the night sky that she looked at was the mirror reflection of the right half. It was not only the wrong sky, it was a lazy sky.
Cameron cheaped out.
Man, and I don't mind you being loosey-goosey, except that the entire marketing premise of that film was on the accuracy of the details of the ship Titanic, because he had a submersible and went down there and knew what the wall sconces look like, and the china patterns and the staterooms. If you're gonna boast about that, something I can't double check, and you're gonna on the sky, which you can double check with a cheap planetarium program you put on your computer, I was pissed off. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what happened when I told this, when I got up in the face of Jim Cameron. When we come back to Star Talk Radio.
Construction complete.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab, LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth. From creator Noah Hawley and executive producer Ridley Scott comes the first television series inspired by the legendary Alien film franchise. A spaceship crash lands on Earth, bringing 5 unique and deadly species more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. And the technological advancement marks a new dawn in the race for immortality. FX's Alien Earth, all new Tuesdays on FX and Hulu.
Going up. Prices keep going up these days. It feels like being on an elevator that only goes up. Going up. But not at Metro. We're pushing the down button. Going down. We've lowered prices. Get one line of 5G data for $40, period. That's 20% lower. And you get a free Samsung 5G phone when you bring your number. Only at Metro.
5-year guarantee on eligible plans. Exclusions apply. See website for details. Not available at Metro with T-Mobile in the past 6 months. Tax applies.
This is Star Talk Radio. Welcome back. So, where did we leave off? Well, first of all, you can follow us, friend us on Facebook. I guess it's now Like Us, I think is what it's called. When, you got to like us. But just find us. We're Star Talk Radio, and we tweet at Star Talk Radio. I tweet at Neil Tyson, and we got Bad Astronomer tweeting, and Leanne Lord just bringing our piece of the universe.
And I just tweeted, so excuse me.
Wow,
okay. Is that what that was? Okay. Thought that was neutrinos passing through. Okay.
So where did we leave off? I think I was retelling my encounter with Jim Cameron regarding Titanic. Yeah,
Sounds like a throwdown.
It was so a smackdown with Jim Cameron. So had he not made any premise of accuracy in his film, I would not have cared. I would have just said, fine, he made up a sky. I'm not going to lose sleep over this. So it was a matter of inconsistency in delivered product. So I met him in California. We happened to be attending the same conference, and I came up to him, and I was polite, and I said, Mr. Cameron, Titanic's great, and I understand, right, fine, but I want to call something to your attention. The sky that was above the sinking ship was the wrong sky, and I was wondering what you do. And I wanted him to grovel at my feet, right, is what I wanted to have happen in my immaturity. And he said, oh, actually, that was done in post-production, and so that must have slipped by. That was so honest and simple, but still I was left unfulfilled. I wanted him to beg forgiveness, but I had no rejoinder at that point. 3 years later, I would see him again. He would be visiting New York, getting an award from Wired magazine. And their party was in the Hayden Planetarium Hall of the Universe. And they invited me just as it was a rental, but they invited me as a courtesy. I'm having dinner with the guy. The wine is getting poured. There's only 8 of us around the table. And I said, I got to bring this up again, because he did not react the way I wanted him to react.
Glutton for punishment.
I said, Jim, because now he's Jim, right? So I said, Jim, how is it that you could have made that mistake, given how much attention to detail was there before? And he said, last I checked, Titanic worldwide has grossed $1 billion. Imagine how much more it would have grossed had I gotten the sky correct.
Kaboom!
I'm guessing that wasn't the reaction you wanted.
Man, and my tail went between my legs. There was nothing. He just called my stuff out right on the spot. And so I was quiet the rest of the meal, but I didn't bring up the subject again. 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from some guy who says, hello, is this Dr. Tyson? I said, yes. He said, I forgot his name, Johnny Joe. I work post-production for Jim Cameron, and he's going to release a 10th anniversary director's cut, and he'll be adding new scenes, and he tells me you have a sky he can use. Yes! Yes! It was like he shoots, he scores.
It is good to be the king.
You see, and the lesson I get out of that is I need to get my own planetarium, clearly.
For real.
Man.
Don't forget the wine.
One of the few triumphs we can call attention to here. So let's get to the ugly. Let's talk about ugly creatures, ugly aliens. How about Alien the movie? Tell me about that.
Awesome flick. Now, my wife disagrees. She thinks it's really boring. But, it's a different movie. It made in 1979.
Well, tell me about the science. Did you like the alien in that?
I thought the alien was so cool.
It was great. It wasn't just an actor in a lizard suit.
It was based on H.R. Giger drawings, and his stuff is so
I knew that.
creepy. Yeah. And so, I see. The geek off starts again.
No, go on.
But it acid for blood. I can believe that. That would be an extraordinary defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it could evolve naturally or not, I don't know.
But how can something be growing inside of you and you not know it?
System survey complete.
No, I don't know.
Are you serious? Only a man could make that statement. Seriously? Usually, sometimes you have a good 6 weeks before you actually know.
Well, something could be growing inside of you and I wouldn't know it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
So we're not even counting germs, fellas, viruses, diseases. Nothing?
You're full of germs. Isn't most of your body weight?
They're finding that some stupidly high fraction of your total body mass is microbes.
Yeah.
Not even you. It's like other creatures.
And there are things that are almost visible to the naked eye living on your eyelashes. And I mean your eyelashes.
Just mine.
Yeah.
I'm still a little stuck at that fact you married a woman who doesn't like aliens.
She just thought it was slow. She prefers faster movies.
Wait,
I can understand that.
She's
She's younger than I am.
I got to get
She's
back
younger than I am.
I got to get back to creatures growing inside you. So, Leanne, how many days before you know you're pregnant?
Oh.
What? So you should ask me how many. What?
You said you would know. There's time where something would grow inside of you and you wouldn't know. How much time?
I do not know.
Because you haven't been pregnant yet.
No.
So you're more informed about this than either Phil or I.
But we're still talking about growing things inside of a woman, and you don't know instantly. You're not your own pregnancy test. Oh my gosh.
That would be interesting.
It would
whoa,
be.
I got pregnant that second. Yeah, that would be interesting.
It's like, whoops. Oh.
Well, in the movie's defense,
yes,
there is some evidence that the aliens were genetically engineered, and in the Predator versus Alien movies and in the series of books, the Predators developed the aliens as the ultimate hunting game.
Let's
And
talk
that's
about
why they
Predator.
were
How
done.
about Predator? What do you think of that?
I enjoyed Predator as well. The infrared vision and coming to Earth to hunt people. And,
But it was
and
still
all of
very
that.
humanoid. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, a head, and a neck.
Well, I've talked to Seth
dreadlocks.
Shostak.
And
and the dreadlocks, yeah. Seth Shostak, who is an astronomer with the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and I talked about this, and he actually feels that the humanoid form is actually a pretty decent shape for an intelligent life form. I agree with him. I don't think it's the only one.
I smell bias.
I have a Cocker Spaniel. He has 4 legs. He's brilliant.
I see. PhD in Cocker Spanielism.
All right. How about E.T.? Everyone said he was cuddly. I thought he was ugly as sin.
That's right. And that whole neck thing freaked me the hell out
This
when
extending
I saw
neck.
it. Yeah. And, any alien has glowing fingers and starts walking towards me with a finger glowing. I'm of a certain age where I've gone to the doctor and they've walked towards me with a finger extended. Out of here. Gone. Yeah.
There's so much more to talk about, but all good things must come to an end. You've been listening to Star Talk Radio. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. As always, keep looking up.
Do Crohn's disease symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya guselkumab may help. At 12 weeks, rapid symptom remission was achieved in most patients taking Tremfya, and some experienced visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Explore what's possible and ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore the story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive, where drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. Plus, auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Quote now at progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, national average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Welcome to Star Talk, your place in the universe where science and pop culture collide. Star Talk begins right now. Welcome back to Star Talk Radio. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist. Joining me this week is my comedic co-host, Chuck Nice. Chuck, welcome back to Star Talk.
It's great to be here, Neil.
Yeah, it's just like your 8th time or something.
Yeah, I love it. I can't think of a better way to spend an early Sunday evening, Neil.
Okay. I don't know if you're joking. I don't know. But, and Chuck, you're tweeting at Nice Chuck Nice, still going strong there.
No, I changed it. It's at Chuck Nice Comic.
Why? What are you doing to me here? How am I going to find out what the... Okay, fine. Chuck Nice Comic.
There you go.
Fine.
I just thought it was simpler.
This week, we couldn't leave it unattended to. We're going to devote this entire Star Talk Radio to climate confusion.
Wow.
Yeah, what's going on? What tornadoes wreaking havoc and floods, and of course there's always been tornadoes and there's always been floods, but there's the worry that this is happening at a greater frequency and a greater intensity.
Yes.
And so is it global warming, global climate change, or is it just a fluctuation? So we assembled some experts that we'll get to during the show to just chat about this.
I love the way you put it as climate confusion. That is so much better than any term I've heard.
What?
It makes the climate seem like a confused teenage girl.
Okay.
It's climate confusion.
Confusion.
I love it.
Actually, it's not the climate that's confused. It knows it's certainly what the hell it's doing. Let me bring in first Andrew Friedman. Andrew Friedman is exactly the kind of profile we wanted to explore for this show. He's managing editor of online content of climate policy. No, let me get this. Excuse me. Andrew, what are you?
I'm a managing editor at Climate Central.
At Climate Central. Right next door to Comedy Central. Is that
Yeah. We have a very weird relationship.
There you go. So this is based in Princeton, New Jersey.
Mhm.
And what do you do there?
We cover climate change. We basically put scientists and journalists together.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Both. And we use that to cover climate and communicate about it in ways that we think will be helpful to people to understand it.
So you're at the nexus of this important place where scientists are trying to communicate, and you actually have people who know how to do this.
Yeah, well, we hope.
Are you successful?
We are and we aren't. There's a lot.
What kind of? Well, no, what?
Yes.
That's not an answer.
We are 100% successful.
There you go.
Can't think of anything wrong.
That's right, Andrew. Go the Donald Trump route.
How are you going to stop confusion of weather and climate in the public if you don't even know if you're successful? Where's you too, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think that people are generally confused about what the difference is between weather and climate.
Tell us.
Well, I mean, you just have to think of it as
People think they're the same thing, typically.
Right, I think so.
So fix it for us.
Well, weather is short term, and climate is the average of weather over the longer term.
Longer, a month, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, a millennium?
It
Tell me.
depends exactly what you're talking about.
Is climate the ice age? Or is climate,
That is climate.
It's summertime now because the next 3 months, I'm going to the beach.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's not exactly weather. It's still climate. It's knowing that it's going to be colder in January than it is in July.
That's climate.
Mhm.
Okay, so now I get a tornado through my backyard, and I've never had one in the history of my town. What's
Right.
that?
That's weather.
That's
That's
weather.
weather.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that I never had one of these tornadoes before, that's kind of interesting to climate scientists, I presume.
Yeah, I think that the whole, a lot of the discussion right now is coming out of, well, weather seems to be getting more and more unusual and extreme.
And is that really the case, or are we just focusing on it more because there's this climate change backdrop on which to interpret it? Because if you go back in time, there have been extremes of weather. There's the blizzard of '88 in New York that took out all of our power lines. That you can go back. Every town has got the legends of their town.
Exactly.
Floods,
Right.
and so are we just focusing a little better? And so it gives we're deluded into thinking that it's all the product of climate change.
I think that there's some of that goes on, but I think there's also actual trends that climate scientists can point to that show that certain extreme events are happening more frequently and they're happening in more extreme ways. It depends exactly what you're talking about.
All right, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. In the last 6 months, you look across the country, these huge floods, record floods, basically, and tornadoes in the St. Louis Airport and in Alabama. Tearing up Alabama. And again, not that they may have never heard of a tornado before, but we're talking about tornadoes in places other than where Dorothy, other than Kansas. Kansas is, of course, Tornado Alley. But if you have tornadoes in places other than Tornado Alley, do we see a trend unfolding here?
We don't see a trend in terms of where tornadoes are occurring. There's actually another alley that's called Dixie Alley, which is the whole area that got hit by that massive tornado outbreak in Alabama and Mississippi.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago, yes.
Yeah. But what they are looking for is trends in tornado strength and trends in tornado frequency. A lot of that is still quite hazy because our records of tornadoes going back into the 1950s and earlier are really terrible.
Why are they terrible? If a tornado comes, you think people would know about it and write it down.
Right. Well,
There's no excuse there, I would think.
There weren't that many people throughout the United States to record the tornadoes. back
So
then.
tornadoes may have happened, and they
Right.
just weren't actually experienced.
Okay.
If you look at the numbers, there are more and more tornadoes occurring every year. But they think that most of that trend is actually because we're just noticing them more. We have these radars. We have.
That's what I'm saying. We've got
storm
better equipment than ever before.
The
to find out
spirits have
what's
granted us
going on
new
here.
wisdom.
You know, who's a big climate change guy, just who thinks a lot about it, in fact, lectures on it, is Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy?
He's like climate dude of
Really?
late. Yeah, and so he did a quick Bill Nye 1-minute rant for us. Let's see what he tells us.
Up until late in the last century, the one thing people could agree on was the weather. Statements like, it's cold, it's hot, it's rainy, or even, it's that dry heat, were not controversial. But now they are, because now people are wondering why the weather has turned so wacky. Flooding in the heartland again, but no Force 5 hurricane to bring it on. Tornadoes? Sure, it's North America, but now they're in Brooklyn. If you're a climate change denier from, say, the wide open spaces of Oklahoma, you just can't believe that things are not normal back in Norman, no matter how many homes are now underwater. A few humans can't change a climate. The Earth is just too big, isn't it? Look at the Earth from space. The atmosphere is thin. If you could somehow drive at highway speed straight up, you'd be in outer space in just 2 hours. When it comes to the atmosphere and the sea ice and the no-show snows of Kilimanjaro, ours is a small world. And get this, by the end of October of this year, we will have 7 billion people on this planet. A lot more humans, but no spare air. It's human-made carbon dioxide that's holding in the heat. On Venus, the same gas and the same heat-holding effect make it hot enough to melt metal. To understand climate change, compare planets. Have a look in from out in space. Nothing out there to cloud your thinking. For Star Talk Radio, I'm Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
The one and only Bill Nye. Welcome back to Star Talk Radio. By the way, you can find us on the net.
Construction
on the internet.
complete.
We are at startalkradio.net.
Construction
That's our
complete.
website. And in fact, we've got a Facebook page.
Nice.
Star Talk Radio. You can like us.
Like us.
In the old days, you friend you, but now
you just like.
Like it. That's which is a little creepier, I think.
Yeah, you know, it actually does change. I don't want to be your friend, but hey, I like you.
I'll
nonetheless
nonetheless like you. So Bill left us with the notion that compare planets. There's a whole sub-cottage industry of astrophysics called comparative planetology, where you look around to other planets and see what knobs got turned there. See if you can get any insight to what's going on here on Earth. So we know Venus, their atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide, 98% carbon dioxide, the kind of gas that traps heat. It, in fact, is doing a lot of heat trapping on Venus, so much that the temperature there has risen to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hotter than a pizza oven. In fact, I did the calculation. I don't know if you do this, Chuck.
Right.
Next time you're on Venus, you can take a 16-inch pepperoni pizza, put it on the windowsill. It will cook in 9 seconds.
Actually, that sounds like a delicious meal. I might want a vacation in Venus now.
Except that you would vaporize as well. So
I forgot about that
small
little
complications.
drawback, yeah.
Also, Mars once had liquid running water on its surface. It's bone dry today, and it's a couple of 100 degrees below zero. Some knobs got... And by the way, one of those planets is to our left, the others is to our right as we orbit the sun.
So it sounds to me like we are the Goldilocks of planets.
That's the question is, for how long? Let's see if we can bring in a research scientist in climate science. We've got David Rind here. David, you're a climatologist with NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies. That's right there on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Hardly anyone knows it's there. Why?
Well, it prefers to be incognito.
Why?
Well, historically, it was around during the late 60s when science was an anathema to a lot of people who related the science we were doing to Defense Department research.
Oh, so that's why you're tucked away behind the restaurant.
Well, we're at Tom's Restaurant, right above Tom's Restaurant.
So this is a famous restaurant. It not only shows up in every other scene change of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Also, there's a song written in that restaurant by Susan Vega.
Yeah, the
Tom's
restaurant's
restaurant.
undoubtedly a lot more famous than us, no doubt about it.
Okay, I think that's a travesty, actually, if you're NASA and a restaurant's more famous than you. So tell me, what is climate? You're the man here. You do research on this.
Construction complete.
Models of the climate system to try to answer questions just like the one you were asking. If something happens, do the climate models predict? That's the sort of thing that would be the result of increasing carbon dioxide.
So your climate models are only as good as how you set them up and what parameters you have interacting with each other.
Definitely. And we also use satellites then, this is NASA after all, to try to observe the system and understand the relationship so that we can improve the model.
The system is like land, ocean, air kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
And sun.
And sun
driving
as well.
sun is your source of energy.
Exactly.
And so, are you good at this?
Well, that's an absolute term. Relatively, I can say this. We're better than we used to be.
Oh, you guys are giving me wishy-washy answers here. All right, how about this? What does the history of your efforts tell us? Are you on the right track? Have you ever had to flip-flop based on one prediction from your computer models to another?
Somebody did a study of this and looked at what the predictions were over the past 20 years for what would actually happen.
That would be a good test of your integrity.
And actually, the models in general have been right on as to what's happened over the last 20 years. So you go back 20 years, see what they predicted, see what happened. It's pretty much aligned.
That's a good track record.
But it doesn't mean
there's always
that
a but. Everyone has a big but. Okay, so what's your but?
Sir mix a lot of comedy.
The but is that we're just at the beginning of climate change. And if we go 50 years in the future, we may be in much more extreme climate change. And our ability to predict that we can't guarantee.
What you're saying is that your models are maybe good at predicting slow trends, but if there's a catastrophic tipping point, your models are less good at doing that.
And even just the exponential increase of temperature and water and rain with time, whether we get those extremes right, that we can't guarantee. There's no way to check that.
So all you have to do now, David, is change the model so everything will be okay. And then we're all right. That doesn't
Chuck,
work.
I don't think it works that way.
easy.
He doesn't control the Earth. I should have told you before the show.
Yeah.
Yes. He may be powerful, but not that powerful. So let me just ask you, in the parameters that you plug in, the knobs that you turn, is there some knob you wish was better and you had better handle on?
Yeah, the worst two knobs.
That's what I want to hear before we go to our commercial break.
Clouds, because clouds can amplify or diminish climate warming, and our ability to generate clouds pretty
because they reflect sunlight or trap heat underneath. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, when we come back, we'll bring in a filmmaker and find out what challenges he's faced when he's tried to communicate climate change.
When I was first diagnosed with wet AMD, my world felt smaller. I worried that losing my vision would mean losing sight of the little things, reading to my granddaughter, watching sunsets, seeing the faces I love. My retina specialist recommended Vabysmo. He said it's different. It's the only treatment thought to block 2 causes of wet AMD and deliver a chance for up to 4 months between treatments. Thanks to my improved vision, I'm holding on to the moments that mean the most.
Vabysmo is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection, active eye swelling, or are allergic to it. Vabysmo could cause eye infection, retinal detachment, temporary increase in eye pressure, an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke, or severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye. Report changes to vision or eye pain to your retina specialist right away. Ask your doctor about Vabysmo as soon as you notice any vision changes. Visit Vabysmo.com or call 1-833-IGENE for patient assistance programs, cost, and full prescribing information.
You know, one of the best feelings in the world is seeing your child excited about going back to school. And that's when you know they've had some pretty doggone good teachers. As back to school gets underway, this is the best time to learn more about how to get involved in your child's school, team up with their teachers, and make sure everyone has what they need to succeed. The National Education Association is made up of 3 million educators and allies across the country, dedicated to giving every student access to great public education. Parents and teachers are a team, working together to make sure our students have the resources they need to succeed. No matter where we live or who we are, our public schools are a place our kids can feel safe, supported, and ready to play. Every child belongs in a great public school. From big cities to rural towns, public schools belong to us all. Learn how you can get involved in your public school community at NEA.org/backtoschool.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back to Star Talk Radio. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson with Chuck Nice,
comedian.
Yes.
Keeping it real.
It's good to be here.
Let me reintroduce Andrew Friedman. Andrew works at the Climate Central, which is an office at Princeton University, charged with connecting scientists and the public.
Yeah, we're scientists and journalists working out there.
That's what I'm trying to get that story straight. And David Ryan from the Goddard Institute for Space Studies up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. So thanks for being on, guys. David, before the break, you commented on a couple of the uncertainties that lurk in your models. Among them is how much cloud cover we have, because the water vapor in the cloud actually is itself a greenhouse gas, right?
Exactly.
Water traps heat, and clouds are made of water. And you also talk about aerosols. You're talking about my underarm spray? What do you mean aerosols?
So aerosols are little particles, dust, for example, or sand that gets thrown in the air. Or when you burn coal, you get soot thrown in the air. And the big issue here is that in addition to putting all this carbon dioxide in the atmosphere,
System
which we've been
survey
doing now for
complete.
a couple hundred years.
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution and onwards, yeah.
Exactly. That also has put a lot of dust and dirt and aerosols in the air, and that reflects sunlight back to space, and it cools the climate. So the problem is we don't know how much of warming we've been doing relative to the cooling that these aerosols do.
So what you're saying is if Earth is warming from the CO2, what we need is more particles to block
System
the sunlight.
survey complete.
We're going in the opposite direction because we're cleaning the air up, because particles irritate people, whereas carbon dioxide's invisible. So we're actually, by cleaning the air up, we're actually exacerbating the warming.
So what you're saying is a solution is to just put dust in the atmosphere and block the sunlight.
Exactly. A lot more asthma cases, a lot higher medical costs, but less global warming.
Oh, who needs to breathe?
Let me bring in a guy who's actually a filmmaker, documentarian, and who has actually done segments on climate change for the NewsHour. And it's Charlie Lyons. Charlie, welcome to Star Talk Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. So you made segments for it wasn't just sort of global warming stories. Wasn't just global warming stories. They were local global warming stories. What were they?
Well, like Andrew, I was working with Climate Central, and our idea was to take this, huge issue and try to make it local. So to find stories in Montana, in Iowa, in Georgia, in
It's like CBS Sunday Morning, where you go to the mom and pop in the local town.
Spaceborne creature encountered.
Change, and getting and talking to them.
Give me a couple of examples that you found.
Well, trout fishing.
Trout fishing, okay.
Okay, so
I had trout fish recently, by the way. It was
Really?
totally, I grilled it. It was beautiful.
Rainbow?
It was just trout.
Anyway, so we talked to...
It was really thin, but it was delicious.
Generic trout.
Generic, thank
when
you.
you buy it at the market, it just says trout in black and white letters.
Thank you, Chuck.
There we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked to a trout fishing guide out in Livingston.
Wait, Livingston where?
Montana.
Montana.
Yep. And,
Big sky country.
Yes. And we also talked to a scientist at the University of Montana who made something very clear, that when the snowpack melts 2 or 3 weeks earlier, that creates a scenario by the end of the summer with a lot of warm days where the trout, which is a cold water species, end up just in these sitting pools that are getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and they can't survive.
Bad for trout.
Bad.
Sounds to me, though, like the problem solving itself. We're cooking our trout early.
Steamed trout.
That's all.
Chuck. So there it is. We solved that one. Okay, what other town did you go to?
We interviewed a guy on the coast.
Wait, just to back up. So
The
point
spirits
there
have
is,
granted
it's not
us
just
new
monitoring
wisdom.
the weather that gives you indicators. You can monitor the ecosystem is the point.
Yes.
And okay, so what other examples did you have there?
Well, we also talked to a river keeper a guy down in Atlanta, not Atlanta.
In the old days, they called them trolls, you know, who you paid to cross
System
the
survey
river.
complete.
In Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And what he was seeing a lot of the cedar trees dying. And his claim, and we supported this, was that there was an increase in salinity.
Construction
because of
complete.
fresh water mixing with the salt water.
Right.
And the salt water coming farther in because of...
The spirits have granted...
To stave it off? Is that how it happens?
Well, no, just because of sea level rise. So,
that's even worse.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay,
that-
so the brackish water was reaching further
Situation
up
log updated.
That's right.
Wow.
And so that was another concrete instance of a guy who spent his whole life working on this river, saw something and said something.
So if you see something, say something.
Well, let me just say once again, being the eternal optimist, from that I just see more cedar closets.
Chuck.
Just trying to keep it positive.
The positive outlook, Chuck here.
But, I mean,
and so now, David, you're also you're a documentarian filmmaker, and so do you study other people's attempts to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, Charlie, sorry. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that the imperatives of drama, whether you're doing a documentary for PBS or whether you're trying to make a film about Edna St. Vincent Millay,
which is what you're doing now, I read. Yes.
I imagine. The imperatives are for drama are totally different than the imperatives for science. And
for science communication.
For science itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so the problem is when you try to merge those two agendas, to tell a story versus, to tell a story with characters, with struggles, with overcoming struggles, well, that might not necessarily be
how you tell the science story.
Exactly.
Right, but they try. It doesn't stop them.
Okay, so the day after tomorrow. You want to talk about
You had to bring up the day after tomorrow. Somebody, who's going to do it first?
I love that.
Yeah, it was Charlie brings it up first. Okay, so you got a point to make?
Well, let's perhaps listen to a couple of clips.
Oh, you brought some clips?
Yeah.
Okay, Ivan, our engineer, you got some clips queued up here? Let's see what he's got going here. So there's a clip from Day After Tomorrow. Scientist speaking, can you set up the clip?
The first clip is one of the first announcements by our main character, Dennis Quaid, who's talking about evidence that, things are getting worse.
Okay, let's...
And, you might look at its accuracy.
Okay, let's check it out. Go for it.
What we have found locked in these ice cores is evidence of a cataclysmic climate shift which occurred around 10,000 years ago. The concentration of these natural greenhouse gases in the ice cores indicates that runaway warming pushed the planet into an ice age which lasted 2 centuries.
I'm confused. I thought you were talking about global warming, not an ice age.
Yes, it is a paradox, but global warming can trigger a cooling trend. Let me explain. The northern hemisphere owes its temperate climate to the North Atlantic current. Heat from the sun arrives at the equator and is carried north by the ocean. But global warming is melting the polar ice caps and disrupting this flow. Eventually, it will shut down, and when that occurs, there goes our warm climate.
Excuse me, when do you think this could happen, Professor? When?
I don't know. Maybe in 100 years, maybe in 1,000. But what I do know is that if we do not act soon, it is our children.
So that's Dennis Quaid trying to tell it like it is in a movie.
Right.
So Charlie, so he's trying to convey this, and we see the confusion. In fact, one of the people listening said, "I'm confused." And the title of this Star Talk Radio broadcast is Climate Confusion. Let me just check. David, you're our research scientist here. Apart from what might be errors in detail, is there a general truth that you can have global warming that leads to a freeze?
So let's take it step by step. Models do show that as the climate warms, the North Atlantic circulation slows down. And
this is warm currents that come up the side of the United States.
They get reduced. So that aspect is consistent with what models are showing.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is models show that aspect is completely overwhelmed by the warming that the increased CO2 is causing. So even in these regions where the currents have slowed down, it still warms up. The situation talked about in the movie was historically during a time when ice spread all over good portions of North America and Europe. in that
That's the Ice Age.
Yes, when that ice melted, which is a hell of a lot more ice than we have today available, that really shut down the circulation and produced a lot colder conditions.
Now, Chuck, just so you know, humans were alive back then, and we survived it just fine. So
The Ice Age?
Yeah.
Exactly, because they found footprints of man right next to footprints of a Brachiosaurus. So, yeah.
You got the
sense.
wrong eon there, I think. So, Andrew, I'm told you read the script for this.
I did. I met
So,
with
do we
the
credit
author.
you or blame you? Do we credit you for the little bit of the sciences there, or do we blame you for how much they got wrong?
I'd appreciate both, actually. I connected the writer with a bunch of scientists in the government and outside, and I gave some helpful comments about how inaccurate it was. But I don't think that I was ultimately the deciding factor on how to portray this. I mean, they basically just sped up rapid climate change to unfathomably fast, levels.
Yeah, well, the movie's only 2 hours.
I know. Well,
come on, man.
Exactly.
So, Charlie,
well, that's the funny
that's
thing.
your clip, Charlie, that you brought in here.
Again, it's the imperative of drama. You need to, in screenwriting talk, up the stakes, up the ante really, really quickly. And so when he talks about in that clip 100 years, then very soon after that, something else has changed, and all of a sudden we're talking about 6 to 7 weeks, and then we're talking about 7 to 10 days, and then we're talking about 48 hours, and then we're talking about
tomorrow.
A temperature drop of 10 degrees every second.
Hence the title. When we come back after this next break,
I want to talk more about the portrayal of climate change in some famous films we all know about. Back on Star Talk, I'm with my co-host, Chuck Nice. And I also have Andrew Friedman with Climate Central in Princeton, and David Rind, a climate research scientist for NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies. And also Charles Lyons, filmmaker and documentarian.
Charlie, we left off before the break with you giving us a clip from The Day After Tomorrow, and there's Dennis Quaid, is that right? Yeah, just telling it like it is from his world, taking something that might take 100 years, and for the movie it became The Day After Tomorrow. But the question is, if things are changing, let me go back to you, David. What kinds of changes would be the most obvious or perhaps the most devastating? Because I don't mind an extra couple of degree days in the summer. So what?
Well, the two really components that people focus on. One is that we already have seen that when it's raining, the rain comes heavier. There's more moisture in the air.
Higher intensity. So if the climate warms up, it evaporates and sustains more moisture in the air.
Exactly.
Because the air becomes better
in summer, there's more moisture than in winter because the air can just hold
Situation
more.
log updated.
And when climate warms, even more moisture shows up. And then if there's a lot more moisture, it can rain heavier. And we've been seeing that already now for the last decade.
So what you're saying is that climate change in the form of warming will give you more episodes of precipitation, be it snow or rain.
Well, heavier episodes of precipitation.
Heavier.
More droughts, more floods, just an amplification of
the extremes.
Hydrology, exactly.
Oh, hydrology, that's a nice word. So hydrology is the cycle of water coming in and out of the atmosphere, I guess.
And the second component
so why don't you just say that?
The second component also relates to water, and that's melting of ice sheets and things of that nature and rising sea level.
These would only be ice sheets that are on the land, because if you melt ice that's floating, it doesn't change the ocean level.
Exactly.
You could do that experiment at home. Did you know this, John?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
You know
because
this experiment?
Ice has a larger volume than water itself when it's frozen.
So listen, the man is doing his. Check him out.
So water expands when it freezes. So if you put ice in a glass and you fill the glass, when the ice melts, there'll actually be less water in the glass than what it was when the ice was displacing the unmelted.
That's almost right.
Almost?
You get a B+ for this.
B+?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you do is you fill up a glass with ice, and then fill it as high as you possibly can with water. And the ice rises above the water line. And you ask yourself, well, when it melts, is it going to spill? That's the big question.
Right.
Just do the experiment.
Right.
You do the experiment, the ice melts, it does not overflow.
Right.
Because, in fact, the ice shrinks in volume and occupies the space.
Wait a minute, didn't I just say that?
No, you said something a little different. That's why I gave you a B+.
Okay, I'll take a B. From you, a B+ is like an A+ in my book.
Back to David. So David, we melt the ice sheets. Yeah, so then what happened? So Greenland and Antarctica, basically.
Yeah, so the estimates are now, the latest estimates, we've had sea level rise for the past 100 years because the oceans have been warming and the sea level water expands when it warms.
That's normal expansion.
Normal expansion. But now the estimates are that whatever we've got in the past 100 years, the estimates are 5 to 10 times as great as that for the next 100 years. Now you're starting to really threaten
The
a lot of
spirits
the
have granted us new wisdom.
Along the Gulf.
Florida's underwater.
Well,
the Everglades is ocean.
Under the most extreme conditions, which nobody knows whether they'll happen or not.
If anyone knows, it would be you because you turn the knobs on your models. So what do you mean nobody knows?
So it depends on how much people pay us to turn the knob one way or the other. But the reality is that...
he means grant money, people, not...
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The reality is we don't know how dangerous this situation is. 10 years ago, we thought, not so likely. Now we're thinking, hey, it looks more likely than we thought. And that would have such a big impact on economies, on people's lives.
And that would happen within a century.
People didn't think so, but now they're not so certain.
So really, the real danger here is not whether we get hot or cold, but whether we drown.
Yeah,
so we
drown or droughts. Droughts are another big issue,
right.
And we've been seeing them occurring.
So it'll wreak havoc on the economic distribution of resources will be totally altered here, is what you're saying.
Water availability, coastal availability.
I mean, right now you have this huge flood on the Mississippi River. A couple hundred miles away, you have one of the worst droughts in Texas's history going on right now.
Right next to each other, right there.
I smell aqueduct.
No, what are the world's water world? Water world. So, Charlie, what that one? The whole world is water. I guess I forgot what the theme was because I'm one of the billion people who never saw the movie. Apparently.
Yeah, I think they kept referring to Kevin Costner as Kevin Cost a lot after that movie, right?
But the premise, of course, was some climactic apocalyptic.
Exactly,
Earth.
and and basically what results, and arguably that would be true with 2012 that came out a couple of years ago and made about $1 billion, is what happens is that these sorts of events lend themselves to what people call in academia and elsewhere disaster porn.
Disaster porn.
Really?
Whoa.
All right, you just got my attention.
No, but basically, it's someone like Roland Emmerich who directed both 2012 and A Day After Tomorrow.
They did smell the same, actually, now that you mention it. Yeah.
He's a terrific, sort of a maestro at doing these special effects.
Disaster porn.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, forget about the characters. You better get this, the logical story development. It's about...
Forget the story. Forget whether any of the characters are believable. He did an awesome film.
No. It's better than I'm giving credit for. But, I mean, the point is that it's easier to go for the big stuff than to be subtle. And, there was a movie called The Age of Stupid, which is much more subtle, which I think is extremely effective. And that, of course, only made $1 million.
So hardly anyone saw that, but that took place in the future, reflecting on the chatter that's going on today.
Exactly.
And the arguments.
And just playing stuff that we hear every day, reports from Australia or from the Middle West. I mean, well, that wasn't in there, of course, but a lot of the reports that we've heard in the last 5 years were actually quoted.
And informing the dialogue of this future world where climate change has happened. Let me find out. So David, our climate research scientist here, anytime talk shows, of which there are many during the day and they run 24/7, they want to tackle this subject, they bring on a climate change skeptic and plus some other climate change researcher. And what's going on there? What is the viewer to make of this? Because they both carry scientific pedigree, and you yourself have been on many of these shows. Why should I believe you and not the other
system survey complete
arguing against you?
Well,
special project complete.
Given that we live in a democratic society, there have been polls done of the major scientific organizations in the U.S. and around the world. And like 99% of the scientists polled believe that global warming is real, is happening, and will be a real danger to the world.
That would be a scientific consensus of great magnitude.
Exactly. I mean, you could get people to disagree about anything. Is the world really round? Does the Earth really go around the sun?
Yeah, but those are crazy people arguing that. You go to the 1% of the scientists who are pedigreed in all the ways that our society pedigrees somebody, and they're up there 50-50 giving arguments on the screen.
The most rational arguments against it really relate to the issue of whether models can predict the future accurately or not. How much warming is going to happen? How fast is the warming?
You mean the distant future, not next week's weather?
Exactly. So now it's a question of degree rather than the reality of the situation. Those are the most rational skeptics.
And the most irrational of the scientifically trained skeptics might say what?
Well, they would say they don't believe global warming is happening, the observations are not clear.
What is the viewer to make of this?
I tell you what I make of it, because I'm just the only guy here who's not a scientist. I'm going with the people who don't believe in global warming, because I just purchased a bunch of Exxon stock.
Oh, I see. So your worldview is altered by your financial circumstances.
You darn Skippy.
Charlie, what do we make of this?
Well, I just want to say one thing. I mean, having worked in television and film, I feel at this point with, the statistic that was just given here,
99%, 1%.
99%, that we're really doing a great disservice to the public by having these talking heads constantly making it a debate.
And it's constantly all...
Let's just get beyond the debate, and let's try to get the networks or the major cable companies to discuss specific things that people are seeing that are happening, rather than this moronic. It really is a moronic debate.
Andrew, you're head of the Climate Central. Are you taking this advice to heart? What are you doing?
How does that
to
happen?
solve this? Yeah.
Well, we're trying. I think.
In fact, we're blaming you actually for this.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It results from your journalistic training is this concept of balance, right? You want to do a story on something in Congress, and you go to a Republican and a Democrat, and you get both voices in there.
And if they're two different religions, it's one religion.
Exactly.
So no one is more right than the other, and they each have the right to their own view.
But that doesn't work when it comes to science.
Why don't you communicate this fact?
We have, and we do, and I think by and large, at least the print press has gotten a lot better. I think you won't really see a New York Times story or even a Wall Street Journal story. Wall Street Journal editorial is different.
That's true.
That talks about
which is not news, it's just somebody's interpretation of the news. Mm-hmm.
And that talks about climate change like it's a debate. The challenge now is to tell stories that relate to people, that use some of the dramatic elements from these movies that we talked about, but help anchor the stories in a way that people can make connections.
Charlie, so you actually made me feel a little better about The Day After Tomorrow when you said dramatically they couldn't make it last 100 years. They had to do it quickly, and then it became an exciting movie to watch. So are you prepared to forgive filmmaking in this way if at least the message is accurate, the total message is accurate?
Well, I'm really uncertain about it, and actually kind of disturbs me.
We've got to take a quick break. More Star Talk when we return.
This season, the game begins before the games begin. On August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day. 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. Futures Day is coming. Visit the FanDuel app to learn more and get your picks ready now. FanDuel, play your game. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Comcast Business helps retailers become seamlessly restocking, frictionless paying favorite shopping destinations. It's how nationwide restaurants become touchscreen ordering, quick serving eateries, and how hospitals become the patient scanning, data managing healthcare facilities that we all depend on. With leading networking and connectivity, advanced cybersecurity, and expert partnership, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities. Restrictions apply.
We can't see tomorrow, but we can hear it. And it sounds like peace of mind, knowing our lakes will be better protected by placing Line 5 in the Great Lakes Tunnel. And that we've added extra safety measures while we work to build it, because we're committed to keeping the Great Lakes safe for generations to come. Tomorrow is on. Visit enbridge.com/line5 for more information. Enbridge. Life takes energy.
back on Star Talk.
And I've got Chuck Nice right with me, co-host.
Yes, sir.
With my stable of co-hosts,
That's
Andrew
right.
Freeman from Climate Central at Princeton, David Ryan, Goddard Institute for Space Studies. Thanks for coming in. And Charlie, you brought clips from The Day After Tomorrow with you. You're a filmmaker, so and you got one more. Let's hear what that one says about climate shift. And is this your favorite movie on climate change, by the way, or is it?
I wouldn't say that.
Your favorite one to critique, let's say. All right, let's go. Check out that last clip.
What about the North Atlantic Current? What about it? I got a call last night from Professor Rapson at the Headland Center. He thinks the current has changed.
Oh, come on, Jack. How could that be?
The current depends upon a delicate balance of salt and fresh water.
We all know that.
Yes. But no one has taken into account how much fresh water has been dumped into the ocean because of melting polar ice. I think we've hit a critical desalinization point.
It would explain what's driving this extreme weather.
Headland had some pretty convincing data. They've asked me to feed it into my paleoclimate model to track the next set of events.
Hold on, Jack. Are you suggesting these weather anomalies are going to continue?
Not just continue, get worse.
Let's analyze that. Wait, let me just... Charlie. Sorry. David, in this clip with Dennis Quaid commenting that he had new data to put into his model, are these recent storms and turbulent activity that we've seen around the world, can they feed your model to make it more accurate as we go forward, or are these fluctuations that you can't, that don't have they haven't been going on long enough to matter in your model? How do you deal with it?
Well, what we can do is we can see if we add more carbon dioxide to the radiative code of the model, do we get those
The
same
spirits
sort of
have granted us
Does the
new
warming
wisdom.
climate produce that type of thing that we're seeing going on? If it does, it's a little bit more confidence that it is related to it.
So my question is, does it?
Some of the events, as we said, heavier rainfall events, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Melting of sea ice, melting of glaciers, without a doubt. Melting of snow cover. Tornadoes, difficult story. Hurricanes, difficult story.
So you're getting some, not all. Chuck, that was a clip from Day After Tomorrow, and you told me that's like you had a favorite spot of that movie. What was it?
I love that movie because I love the end. Because at the end,
Construction
the Mexicans say
complete.
to the Americans, "You can't come in our country." Sorry, dudes.
Because everyone is told to run south.
Everybody says you have to go south because it's warmer down there.
Right.
And then we all start going south, and they're just like, "Sorry, gringos."
But then we cut a deal to relieve them of their debt.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Even in the movie, America buys its way out of a global disaster.
Andrew, you work at Climate Central Princeton. I wouldn't mind if people chose sides on whether they were climate deniers or climate change deniers or supporters, if it's just sort of random with the person. But it seems to split along political party lines, or liberal and conservative. That's what you see in your data, and why is that so?
Well, the polling data suggests that the number one predictor of what you're going to think about climate change is your political affiliation. Why
That's crazy.
It is a little bit crazy.
That what science you'll accept is a function of what your political affiliations. That's crazy.
We're at a very unusual point right now where you cannot believe in climate change and run in the Republican presidential primaries. You saw Tim Pawlenty disown his cap and trade support. But, I think this will change. I think that people are, rational and will take a look at the science and it'll change. But
well, will it change because things will happen fast enough and then they see the evidence of these predictions? Because that's the disconnect. There's the prediction and they're not believing the predictions.
Or in this case, a lot of them believe that the proposed solution is like a big government tax and spend proposal, and they're opposed to that ideologically speaking, so they don't want it. And that's not true.
Charlie, there have been other climate change movies. The most famous, I think, among them is
The documentary.
Inconvenient Truth, produced by former Vice President Al Gore. But so he used various tactics, personal narrative, and he had a big graph with a cherry picker. And are there any other ways to communicate this?
I would argue that one of the reasons that movie was so effective is, people criticized it by saying it's just a slideshow and all that, but it really did include a lot of his personal narrative just after, arguably getting the raw end of the deal after the election. So it was a classic case of a movie using character, in this case Al Gore, as a way of really
of delivering a message,
and getting people involved in the story.
All right. So, and you mentioned earlier during the break about animation. What role would that play?
Well, in that movie, there's some terrific animation, but I think animation is probably one of the least tapped methods of communicating.
On purpose, or
no,
just overlooked?
I just don't think it's been done well enough yet.
People will accept this information from Bugs Bunny, is what you're saying.
They might, and actually, it's interesting.
This is sad, actually.
No, but you're being funny about
Ignore
something.
the scientist. Listen to the cartoon character.
But that's what we're doing here on this show. Is being,
Bart Simpson on climate change.
You can communicate this stuff much better if you're being funny, and I think that animation can do that, and you can just send a little link to people, and
it's an excuse to be funny. Yeah, there's another movie, Happy Feet. That was one of my favorite movies out there. That one, some people thought it was a little too preachy, but I enjoyed the dancing and the singing, actually.
Yeah, it was kind of like river dancing for penguins. I liked it.
It was. But actually, that was like the third Penguin movie in 2 years or something. We had Penguin Overload. A quick question here for my whole panel, can I call you that, is can you imagine the future where we don't stop producing CO2, we invent some machine that removes it from the